Welcome and thank you for being here. There's no need to do anything at all, simply allow my voice to be a soft companion as you begin to drift toward the quiet story of a young girl about to step into a world of impossible scale, a world that will try to swallow her whole. Before we drift too far, if you feel a connection to this place, you're welcome to leave a quiet like or subscribe. Think of it not as a task, but as leaving a soft footprint in the sand before you continue your journey inward. And if you feel so inclined, you could leave a comment letting me know what city you're listening from and what time it is there. There's something wonderfully peaceful in knowing we're all resting in our own quiet corners of the world, all at the same time. Let that all fade, and so find that gentle darkness in your room, perhaps with a soft blanket pulled a little closer as we begin our slow drift into tonight's tale. The first thing you notice is the size of it all. The gates of the palace in Chang'an don't just opened. They are colossal, impossibly tall, painted a deep, imperial red, and studded with golden bosses that glitter in the afternoon sun. You are 14 years old. Your name is Wu Zhao. It is a name that, for now, means very little. You are the daughter of a provincial official, a man of some standing, but here, in the heart of the Tang Dynasty, you are effectively no one. Your journey here was a blur of bumpy carriages and the nervous chatter of your attendants. They kept telling you what an honor this was. An honor to be selected for the Emperor's household. An honor to be noticed. Looking up at those gates, at the endless, unsmiling faces of the guards, you're not so sure. It feels less like an honor and more like you've been delivered to a very ornate, very large, and very intimidating new boarding school. A school from which you can never graduate. You walk through. The noise of the city, the dust and the chaos, is cut off as if by a knife. Inside, there is a strange, humming silence. It's not truly quiet, you realize. It's the sound of thousands of people moving with purpose. The whisper of silk-soled slippers on polished stone, the distant clang of a blacksmith in the palace forges, the murmur of officials speaking in low, careful tones. Everyone has a place. Everyone has a rank. And you are about to be given yours. You are led through a dizzying maze of courtyards, each one more beautiful than the last. There are gardens with artfully twisted pines, ponds filled with lazy golden carp, and pavilions with swooping tiled roofs. It's designed to awe, to impress upon every soul who enters that this is the center of the world, the domain of the Son of Heaven, Emperor Taizong, but it's also designed to confuse, to disorient. You get the distinct feeling that if you were left alone for 5 minutes, you might never find your way out again. A small, not so funny thought crosses your mind. You probably won't be allowed to be left alone for the next 50 years, so it's a moot point. Finally, you are brought to a section of the palace known as the inner court. The air here is different. It's thick with the scent of expensive perfumes, of incense, and of something else, something you can't quite name. It's the scent of competition, of hope and despair, all living side by side. This is the world of women. You are given your title. You are to be a Karen, a talented person. It sounds quite nice, doesn't it? But you quickly learn that in the ridiculously complex and layered bureaucracy of the imperial harem, a Karen is a concubine of the 5th rank, out of 9. So you're not exactly at the bottom, but you're a very, very long way from the top. Your duties are vague. To be a companion, a lady-in-waiting, to assist with the Emperor's daily life if called upon. One of the older eunuchs explains that it's mostly about being literate and pleasant. You suspect it's mostly about being invisible until you're wanted. Your new quarters are fine. They are not the grand suites you saw hints of, the ones belonging to the high-ranking consorts. It is a simple, elegant room with a beautifully carved bed, a small table, and a window that looks out onto a walled garden. It is 100 times more luxurious than anything you had at home, but it also feels like a cage. A very pretty, very comfortable cage. That first night, as you lie in the unfamiliar bed, the silk sheets cool against your skin, the enormity of your situation settles upon you. You are one of hundreds of women here, all of you in service to one man, a man you have never met, a man who holds the power of life and death over the entire world you know. Historians, centuries from now, will argue about who you were in this moment. Were you a frightened, ambitious girl, already calculating your first move on this vast, intricate chessboard? Or were you simply a teenager, homesick and overwhelmed, just hoping to get through tomorrow without embarrassing yourself? Perhaps you don't even know the answer yourself. You just know that you are here, and survival means learning the rules. The sun rises, but you don't see it. The high walls of your small courtyard garden block the dawn, leaving your room in a soft, grey twilight for what feels like hours. The day begins not with light, but with the sound of shuffling feet and a soft cough outside your door. It's your new attendants, 2 young maids and an older eunuch assigned to manage your affairs. They enter without knocking. Privacy. Your e-learning is a privilege, not a right. They help you dress. The layers of silk are bewildering. Each one has a name, a purpose, a specific way it must be tied. The cosmetics are even more complex. A thick white foundation of lead powder, you make a mental note to use it sparingly, followed by rouge on the cheeks, a painted red teardrop or flower on your forehead, and the careful shaping of your eyebrows into what they call distant hills. The whole process takes over an hour. You feel less like you're getting ready for the day and more like you're a precious vase being polished for display. Your education in the rules of this place begins in earnest. It's an unwritten textbook taught through cautionary tales whispered by your maids and sharp corrections from the eunuch. You learn that to speak to a consort of a higher rank, you must first bow and wait to be addressed. You learn which colors are reserved to the Empress, which for the top-tier consorts, and which are safe for a 5th rank nobody like you. You learn that walking too quickly is unladylike, but walking too slowly is lazy, laughing too loud is vulgar, but not smiling is morose. It is a tightrope walk over a canyon of potential missteps. The hierarchy is everything. At the very top is the Empress. She is the moon to the Emperor's sun, the mother of the palace. Below her are the 4 consorts, each with a title of virtue: the virtuous consort, the talented consort, and the noble consort, then the 9 imperial concubines, then the 27 hereditary consorts, and finally, the 81 ladies of the palace, a category that includes your rank of Karen. You do the math in your head, all vying for the attention of one man. And the method for gaining that attention is, you discover, utterly humiliating. Sometimes the emperor will send for a specific woman, but more often, especially for the lower ranks, the choice is left to chance. An old story, perhaps apocryphal but told with a shudder of truth, is that a previous emperor would ride through the palace gardens in a small cart pulled by a goat. The goat would stop to nibble at the leaves in front of whichever door it pleased, and that concubine would receive the emperor's visit. The story goes that the cleverer women began hanging salt licks and fresh bamboo leaves on their doors to entice the goat. You find the tale both ridiculous and terrifying. Your entire future, your family appetite of a goat. Another version you hear involves the emperor releasing a butterfly in the garden, and he would visit the woman whose doorway it landed near first. It's all so arbitrary, so deeply impersonal. Weeks turn into months. You have still not been summoned. You see the emperor, Taizong, from a distance sometimes. He is a commanding figure, no longer young, with a warrior's build and eyes that seem to see everything. He carries the immense weight of the empire on his shoulders, and in the rare moments you see him up close in a larger court gathering, he just looks tired. So very tired. But you are not idle. As a Karen, a talented person, your literacy is your primary asset. You are assigned not to the emperor's bedchamber, but to his library and study. This is an unusual posting. While other girls in your position practice their music, their dancing, their embroidery, you spend your days organizing scrolls, grinding ink, and copying documents. And this is where your story diverges from the norm. It's also where historians love to argue. The official narrative, written long after you're gone, will claim Emperor Taizong barely noticed you, that you were just another piece of furniture in the palace. But this doesn't quite add up with the woman you become. Some scholars suggest a different story, a quieter one. They believe that here, in the quiet of the imperial study, you actually formed a connection with the emperor. It's not a romance, not the way the other women would understand it, but he notices you. He notices that your hands don't shake when you serve his tea. He notices that when HES dictating an edict, you're not just mindlessly copying the characters, you're actually listening. One day, HES struggling to recall a passage from a classic text on governance. You, without looking up from your work, quietly murmur the passage from memory. He stops. He looks at you. Really looks at you, for the first time. He asks your name. You tell him, Wu Xiao. He doesn't say anything more that day, but something has shifted. You are no longer invisible. He begins to ask you questions. Not about music or poetry, but about history. About strategy. He speaks to you about the burdens of rule, almost as if HES thinking aloud. You learn to listen, to offer a quiet, intelligent thought when prompted. You are becoming his confidant, in a purely intellectual way. The other women in the palace are vying for his affection. You, by complete accident, are earning his respect. It is a far stranger, and perhaps more valuable prize. You have found a foothold, not in his bed but in his mind. And you are about to discover that a sharp mind can be just as potent a weapon as a beautiful face. The days in the Emperor's study settle into a quiet rhythm. You are a shadow at his elbow, a silent observer of power. You learn how the empire is run not from textbooks, but from the raw, unfiltered reports that cross the Emperor's desk. You see petitions from provincial governors, military dispatches from the frontier, and scathing critiques of policy from court ministers. You learn that ruling is less about grand pronouncements and more about 1,000 daily compromises. And during this time, you have an encounter that will become a famous, and somewhat chilling, part of your personal legend. Emperor Taizong is a great lover of horses. He prides himself on his stables, which are filled with magnificent beasts from all over the known world. One day, he is in a courtyard with a group of courtiers, admiring a new arrival. This isn't just any horse. It's a stallion from Fergana, a creature of immense power and beauty, famed for sweating blood. But it has one major flaw: it is completely untamable. It rears and kicks, its eyes wild, refusing to be saddled, refusing any rider. The emperor, frustrated and a little embarrassed in front of his ministers, complains aloud. "Such a beautiful horse," he says. "It is a pity that none of you can master it." The courtiers murmur their agreement. "It's a beast," they say, "too wild. I lost course." And then you speak. You are standing at the edge of the group, holding a stack of scrolls, as is your duty. Your voice is not loud, but it cuts through the men's chatter. "I can control it," you say. A silence falls. Every head turns to you. A fifth-rank concubine, a girl, has just contradicted the entire imperial court and offered a solution where seasoned horsemen have failed. It is an audacious, almost reckless, thing to do. The emperor looks at you, a mixture of amusement and annoyance in his eyes. He has come to appreciate your quiet intelligence in the study, but this is different. This is public. "Oh," he says, his voice laced with challenge. "And how would you do that, little Karen?" You meet his gaze directly. There is no girlish deference in your eyes now. You are calm, analytical. "I would need 3 things, Your Majesty," you state, as if explaining a simple problem of logistics. "An iron whip, a metal mace, and a dagger." A gasp goes through the crowd. These are not the tools of a horse trainer. They are the tools of a torturer, a butcher. The emperor's face hardens. "And what would you do with those?" Your reply is chillingly precise. "First, I would flog it with the iron whip. If it does not submit, I would strike its head with the mace. And if it still refuses to be broken, I would use the dagger to cut its throat." The courtyard is dead silent. The courtiers look at you with a new kind of expression. It is not admiration. It is a flicker of fear. You have not described how to execute it for disobedience. You have revealed a glimpse of a mind that is utterly ruthless, one that sees a problem not as something to be coaxed or persuaded, but as something to be dominated. If it cannot be dominated, it must be eliminated. Historians will debate this story for centuries. Did it really happen, or was it a tale you, yourself, encouraged later in life to build your own myth? A way of telling the world, "I have always been this way. Do not test me. The truth is lost to time, but the effect is the same. It creates a crack in your carefully constructed image of a quiet, scholarly girl. It plants a seed of unease. Emperor Taizong, for his part, does not seem angry. He is a warrior king who carved his empire out of the bloody collapse of the previous dynasty. He understands brutality. He understands the will to power. He looks at you for a long, silent moment. Some accounts say he laughed, a short, sharp bark of surprise. Others say he just nodded slowly, as if seeing a part of you he had not suspected was there. He doesn't let you near the horse, of course. That was never the point. But your relationship changes after that day. The intellectual respect he has for you is now tinged with something else, a deep and profound caution. He sees that beneath the silk robes and the pouted face, there is something hardened, unyielding. Something made of iron and steel. He gives you a new nickname. He starts calling you Mei Niang. That sounds like a compliment, but you know it isn't. It's a joke. A dry, ironic piece of imperial wit. HES acknowledging your beauty, while also acknowledging the dangerous, unfeminine hardness you've just revealed. HES putting you back in your box, reminding you that you are a woman, a charming plaything. He has seen the glimpse of the Empress you might become, and he is both intrigued and deeply unsettled by it. He will never promote you. You will remain a Cain for the rest of his reign. He has decided you are too clever, too dangerous to be allowed any closer to the throne. You have shown your hand just for a moment, and it has cost you. Or so it seems. The years as a Karen under Emperor Taizong pass in a strange, suspended state. You are in the heart of power, yet you have no power yourself. You have the Emperor's intellectual confidence, but none of his affection. You are respected in the library and ignored in the bedchambers. You are a living paradox, and it's a lonely existence. The other concubines who once saw you as a non-threat now whisper about the story of the horse. Unsure what to make of the quiet girl who speaks of whips and daggers. And in this gilded isolation you notice him. He is Li Ji, the crown prince, the emperor's ninth son. He is not at all like his father. Where Emperor Taizong is decisive, battle-hardened, and imposing, Li Ji is soft. He is kind, gentle, and prone to bouts of melancholy. He is a scholar and a calligrapher, more at home with a writing brush than a sword. Many of the old, powerful ministers at court quietly worry that he lacks the steel necessary to rule. He often comes to the imperial study to see his father. And because you are always there, a silent fixture by the inkstone, he begins to see you too. At first, it's just polite nods. A shared, fleeting glance when the emperor is deep in a report. But you see the way he looks at you. It's not the weary, appraising gaze of his father. It's something else. It's fascination. He is a young man, and you are a beautiful young woman, trapped in a world that denies you both any real agency. You are your father's property. He is his father's successor. Both are gilded cages. The forbidden nature of it all is the very air you breathe. You are, in every sense of the word, his father's wife. A low-ranking one, yes, but you belong to the emperor. To even make eye contact with the crown prince for a moment too long is a transgression. To exchange words is dangerous. To feel anything more is treason. But the connection deepens in small, stolen moments. One afternoon you are reaching for a heavy scroll on a high shelf in the library. It's awkward, and you're about to overbalance. A hand steadies your arm. It's him. He has come into the library alone. Be careful, he says, his voice soft. His fingers linger on your sleeve for a fraction of a second longer than necessary. The touch is electric, a shocking breach of a dozen protocols. You pull away, your heart pounding, and murmur your thanks without meeting his eyes. Another time, you are grinding a fresh block of ink for the emperor. It's a meditative, repetting his calligraphy at a nearby table. His own ink is running low. He hesitates, then quietly asks if he might use some of yours when you are finished. It's a simple, practical request. But in this silent, charged atmosphere, it feels like an intimate confession. It's an excuse to interact, to bridge the silent gap between you. You start to notice the little things. He always seems to need a scroll from the shelf nearest to where you are working. He develops a sudden interest in the obscure historical texts that you are tasked with organizing. He asks you questions about them, his head bowed low over the bamboo slips, his shoulder almost touching yours. His questions are intelligent, but you know they are not really about history. This is where the historical record becomes a minefield of speculation. Official histories written by your enemies would later paint you as a seductive predator, a woman who deliberately called Prince to secure your future. Histories written by your supporters would frame it as a pure and tragic love story, two lonely souls finding each other in a cold and unforgiving palace. The truth, as is often the case, is probably somewhere in the murky middle. Were you calculating? Of course you were. You are a woman with no status, no children, and a patron, the Emperor, who is growing older and more frail by the day. You know what happens to childless concubines when an emperor dies. It's a fate you dread more than anything. Securing the affection of the heir is not just a matter of the heir. It is a matter of survival. But was there also a genuine connection? It's hard to imagine there wasn't. Li Ji offers you something his father never could: warmth, gentleness. He doesn't see you as a charming lady with a core of iron. He sees you as a brilliant, beautiful woman trapped in an impossible situation. He admires it. For a girl who has spent a decade being valued for her mind but punished for her ambition, this must have been an intoxicating combination. You are playing with fire. A fire that could consume you both. The palace is a web of eyes and ears. A whispered word from a rival concubine, a suspicious glance from a eunuch, and you would both be ruined. And you would both be ruined. Is not as secure as it seems. His father has replaced heirs before. A scandal could easily be used by his ambitious brothers or powerful ministers to have him deposed. And your fate would be far, far worse. But the gods continue. The soft-spoken questions, the accidental brushes of hands. It is a silent, secret dance in the quiet corners of the Forbidden City. You both know the risk. And you both, it seems, have decided it's a risk worth taking. You are no longer just planning for your survival. You are beginning to imagine a future. The inevitable happens. Emperor Taizong, the great warrior, the son of heaven, dies. The year is 649th. For the empire, it is a moment of profound uncertainty. For you, it is a moment of pure terror. The palace transforms overnight. The humming, purposeful silence is replaced by a formal, ritualized grief. The air grows thick with the smoke of incense and the sound of professional mourners wailing. Everything is white, the color of death. The vibrant silks and lacquered woods are draped in stark, colorless cloth. It feels as if the entire world has been bleached of its future. And your future, specifically, looks bleak. The rule is simple, ancient, and unforgiving. An emperor's concubines who had not borne him a son were to be removed from the palace. They could not be inherited by the new emperor, his son. That would be a grave violation of filial piety, a cardinal sin in your culture. So you are given two choices: a quiet, lonely death, or a living one. The living death is a Buddhist convent. You and all the other childless women of Emperor Taizong's harem are to have your heads shaved, trade your silk robes for the coarse grey cloth of a nun, and be sent to a monastery for the rest of your natural lives. You are to pray for the soul of your deceased master until you die. It is a one-way trip. No one ever comes back. The day they come for you is grey and cold. You are stripped of your finery. The intricate hairstyles that took hours to perfect are gone in a few rough scrapes of a razor. Your head feels strangely light, and the cold air on your scalp is a constant, shocking reminder of your new status. You are no longer Wu Zhao, the girl from the library. You are nothing. A nameless nun, a ghost of a life you once lived. The journey to the Ganwei temple is short, but it feels like crossing into another world. The temple is not a peaceful sanctuary. It is a repository for discarded women. A place of silent, simmering resentment. You look around at the faces of your former palace mates. The proud consorts, the giggling junior ladies, the arrogant beauties, they are all here, all humbled, all shorn and shivering in their identical robes. The hierarchy of the palace is gone, replaced by a sullen, bitter equality. Life in the convent is a crushing monotony. You wake before dawn for chanting. You spend your days cleaning, performing menial chores, and reciting sutras you barely understand. The food is thin rice, gruel, and pickled vegetables. The conversations are whispers of past glories, of silks and jewels and the fleeting favor of a dead man. It is a life sentence of boredom and irrelevance. For many women, this is where their story ends. They fade into the background, their spirits slowly eroded by the daily grind of prayer and poverty. They accept their fate. You do not. Every moment of every day you are thinking. Scheming. Your mind, the one Emperor Taizong both admired and feared, is your only remaining weapon. You do not let it grow dull. While the other women mourn their past, you are relentlessly focused on your future. And your future has a name, Li Ji. He is the new emperor now. Emperor Gaozong. You cling to the memory of those stolen glances, those soft-spoken words in the library. Was it real, or was it just a foolish, youthful flirtation? Did he mean any of it? Does he even remember you? The question of how you managed what happened next is another point of intense debate for historians. How does a disgraced, exiled nun, locked away from the world, communicate with the most powerful man in the empire? Some say you had bribed a eunuch before you left, establishing a secret line of communication. Others believe that it was Li Ji himself who made the first move, unable to forget you. The most romantic and perhaps most plausible version of the story is that you found a way to get a poem to him. A small, heartbreaking piece of writing, lamenting your fate, your shaved head, and your faded beauty, wondering if the new son of heaven still remembered the girl in his father's study. You pour all of your intelligence, all of your desperation, into those words. It is the single biggest gamble of your life. If he has forgotten you, or if he is too afraid to act, the poem will be ignored. Your hopes will die, and you will rot in this temple forever. If the poem is intercepted, it could be seen as a scandalous attempt to seduce the new emperor. It could mean your execution. You wait. The days are an agony of suspense. Every footstep outside your cell, every new arrival at the temple, makes your heart leap into your throat. Has he answered? Or is it the imperial guard coming to silence you for good? One day, a palace servant arrives at the temple with a donation of silks and food, a common act of imperial piety. As she is leaving, she accidentally drops a small, folded piece of paper near you. It is a poem, I reply. It is in his handwriting, the elegant calligraphy you remember so well. It speaks of a love that has not faded, of a memory that has not dimmed. He remembers you. He has not forgotten. The thin rice gruel that day tastes like the most exquisite feast. The cold stone floor feels like the softest silk. A flicker of hope has been ignited in the cold, grey despair of the temple. It is a tiny, fragile flame, surrounded by darkness. But you will guard it with your life. You will use it to burn this whole world down and build. Your exile is not the end of your story. It is merely an intermission. The exchange of poems becomes a lifeline. It is your entire world, a secret thread of words passed through sympathetic hands, connecting your cold stone cell to the warm, vibrant heart of the palace. His poems are full of longing and frustration. He is emperor, but he feels powerless. He is surrounded by his father's old, powerful ministers, men who treat him like a boy, who lecture him on policy and propriety. He complains of his loneliness, of the crushing weight of a crown he never felt ready to wear. And he complains, most bitterly, about his wife, the Empress Wang, and his favorite concubine, Consort Xiao. You read these parts with particular care. His marriage to Empress Wang was an arranged one, a political alliance made when he was just a prince. There is no love between them, only a cool, formal respect. The Empress is noble and proud, but she has failed in her most important duty. She has not given him a son. This is a source of immense political weakness for her, and a source of constant anxiety for him. His heart, he writes, belongs to Consort Xiao. She is beautiful, vivacious, and has given him a son and 2 daughters. But she is also, according to his letters, arrogant and endlessly demanding. She uses his affection for her as a weapon, constantly pushing for more titles for her family, more jewels, more influence. She and the Empress are locked in a bitter, silent war for control of the inner court, and Li Ji is trapped between them. He feels henpecked, managed, and profoundly misunderstood. Your replies are masterpieces of empathy and manipulation. You are the perfect listener. You never demand anything. You never demand anything. You never complain about your own miserable situation. Instead, you offer sympathy. You praise his wisdom. You lament the burdens he must carry. You become his secret confidant, the one person in the world to whom he can pour out his heart without fear of judgment or political maneuvering. To him, you are a tragic figure, a brilliant soul languishing in exile. Your love is pure, untainted by the grasping ambition he sees in the women at court. You are his beautiful, sad poet nun. He has no idea that with every stroke of your brush, you are carefully, methodically, paving the way for your return. The opportunity arrives on the anniversary of Empress Ong's death. It is customary for the reigning emperor to visit the temple where his father's former concubines are housed to offer prayers and burn incense. It is a public, formal occasion, but it is also his chance to see you. The entire convent is in a flurry of activity. The abbess is terrified of a misstep. The nuns are ordered to clean every corner, to chant with extra piety, to be on their absolute best behavior. You, however, are focused on one thing only. You cannot look like the other nuns. You must stand out. But how? You have no fine clothes, no cosmetics, no jewels. You use what you have. Your mind. You know he idealizes you as a tragic, romantic figure. So you lean into it. While the other nuns are scrubbing their faces raw, you allow yourself to look pale wan, your eyes large and haunted in your thin face. When the emperor and his entourage arrive, the nuns are all lined up, heads bowed to the floor. You position yourself just so, near a pillar, slightly apart from the others. He enters the prayer hall, a whirlwind of silk and imperial yellow. He goes through the motions of the ceremony, his face a mask of solemn duty. And then his eyes begin to scan the rows of bowed, grey-robed figures. He is looking for you. You let him look. For a heart-stopping moment, you think HE's going to miss you, and then you slowly lift your head. You don't smile. You don't make any sudden movement. You simply look at him, and you let a single, perfect tear trace a path down your cheek. It is a theatrical gesture of the highest order. It is devastatingly effective. His composure cracks. The emperor, the son of heaven, falters. He sees you, not as one of many anonymous nuns, but as his Wu Zhao, the woman from the poems, suffering so beautifully for love of him. And at that exact moment, another key player makes her move. Empress Wang, who is standing beside her husband, sees it all. She sees the look on his face. She's a shrewd political operator, and she understands instantly what is happening. And she sees not a threat, but an opportunity. The Empress, you see, has a bigger problem than a lovesick husband. Her problem is Consort Zhao. The beautiful, fertile, and arrogant consort is winning the war for the Emperor's affection. Empress Wang knows that if Consort Zhao ever managed to have her own son declared crown prince, the Empress's own position would be untenable. She would be deposed. So she hatches a plan. A deeply cynical, and ultimately suicidal plan. She thinks my husband is infatuated with this ex-concubine. What if I bring her back to the palace? This nun is older now. She has no family backing, no political power. She will be utterly dependent on me. I can use her to distract the emperor, to draw his affection away from the truly dangerous one. Consort Zhao. The nun will be my pawn, a harmless weapon to deploy against my real enemy. Once Consort Zhao is dealt with, I can get rid of the nun easily enough. Later, in the privacy of their chambers, the Empress makes her suggestion to Li Ji. She speaks of pity. She says it is not right for a woman of such refinement as Wu Zhao to waste away in a temple. She, the Empress, would be honored to welcome her back into the palace as her own lady-in-waiting. Li Ji is stunned and overjoyed. He can't believe his luck. His stern, former wife is willingly offering him the one thing he wants most in the world. He agrees immediately, praising her generosity and compassion. He has no idea he is walking into a trap laid by two different women. And so the imperial order is given. You are to be released from the Ganwei temple. Your hair is allowed to grow back. You are given back your silk robes. You are returning to the palace. But this time, you are not a frightened 14-year-old girl. You are a 26-year-old woman, forged in the crucible of exile and armed with a secret correspondence. You are returning not as the emperor's concubine, but as the empress's pet project. A secret weapon. She has no idea that you are the one who has been pulling the strings all along. Returning to the palace is a surreal experience. The red gates that once seemed so intimidating now look like an entrance you have earned. The sprawling courtyards that once confused you are now a map you know by heart. You are back, but everything is different, because you are different. You are formally presented to Empress Wang. You perform the rituals of deference perfectly, bowing low, speaking in soft, humble tones. You thank her for her immense kindness, for her benevolent heart. You pledge your undying loyalty. On the surface, you are the very picture of a grateful rescued stray. The Empress is pleased. You are exactly where she imagined, meek, controllable, and seemingly harmless. Your new position is Zhao Yi, a concubine of the second rank, right below the 4 senior consorts. It's a significant promotion from the lowly Karen you once were. Empress Wang arranged this herself, wanting to give you just enough status to be a credible rival to Consort Xiao, but not so much that you could become a threat to her. It is a calculated, strategic placement on the chessboard. The Emperor, Li Ji, is ecstatic. He now has a legitimate reason to see you every day. But you are cautious. You know that the Empress is watching. So your interactions with the Emperor are a model of discretion. You are deferential to a fault. When he visits you, you often suggest he should spend more time with the Empress. You praise her wisdom, her grace, her management of the palace. This has a dual effect. It completely disarms the Empress, who hears these reports from her spies and believes you are truly on her side. She starts to confide in you, complaining about Consort Zhao's latest outrage, seeking your advice on how to handle the Emperor's moods. You become her trusted ally. Simultaneously, your humility makes you even more desirable to Li Ji. In a palace full of demanding women, your selflessness is a breath of fresh air. He sees you as a saint, a woman who puts his happiness and the stability of his household above her own desires. His infatuation deepens into a profound and dependent love. He feels that you, and only you, truly understand him. Your primary target, however, is Consort Xiao. And here, your strategy is flawless. You never attack her directly. That would be clumsy. Instead, you use the political skills you honed listening at Emperor Tazou in Giesny. You begin by befriending the servants and eunuchs that the arrogant Consort Xiao has mistreated. You listen to their grievances. You offer them small kindness, a sympathetic ear, a minor gift. Soon, you have a network of informants throughout the inner court. You know who Consort Xiao is meeting with, what she is asking for, what she is saying about the Empress behind her back. And you feed this information, carefully curated, to Empress Wang. Your Majesty, you might say, your face a mask of concern. I heard a rumor today, and I hesitate to even repeat it, for I am sure it is just malicious gossip, but one of the laundry maids said that Consort Zhao was laughing with her attendants about the new pin you were wearing. You are planting seeds of discord, watering them with whispers. You become the Empress's secret weapon, just as she intended. You and she form a silent, deadly alliance against your common foe. In front of the Emperor, the three of you are a picture of harmony. Empress Wang is the stately, dignified wife. You are the quiet, respectful newcomer. Consort Xiao is the charming, favored beauty. But behind the scenes, a vicious war is being waged. One of the more peculiar historical tidbits from this time revolves around the belief in witchcraft and curses. The inner court was rife with it. A woman falling ill, a child developing a fever. It was often blamed on a rival burying cursed objects or muttering incantations. Records, likely biased but still telling, suggest that Consort Xiao was accused of using these methods against her rivals. You, on the other hand, are portrayed as being above such things. You fight your battles with intelligence and psychology, not with spells. You make your enemies look petty and superstitious, while you appear rational and composed. The Emperor's favor shifts, slowly but surely. He spends less and less time with Consort Xiao. Her petitions are ignored. Her family members are passed over for promotions. She grows desperate, and her desperation makes her clumsy. She complains to the Emperor, she throws tantrums, she openly feuds with the Empress. All of this only serves to drive Li Ji further into your arms. You are his refuge. He is Eidovcorn in a sea of female hysterics. Within a year of your return, you have achieved the impossible. You have completely supplanted Consort Xiao in the Emperor's affections. You have the total trust of the Empress. You are, to all outward appearances, the perfect concubine, beautiful, intelligent, humble, and loyal. Then you get pregnant. This changes the entire game. A child, especially a son, would give you a power base that has nothing to do with the Empress's patronage or the Emperor's infatuation. A son would make you a permanent, immovable fixture in the palace. The pregnancy is treated with the gravity of a major state event. The finest physicians are assigned to you. Your diet is meticulously controlled. You are excused from all but the most essential court duties. The Empress herself fusses over you, bringing you tonics and silks. In her mind, this is still part of her plan. If you have a son, she, as the official Empress, can legally adopt him. The boy would be raised as her own, securing her position, and you would remain her grateful subordinate. Consort Xiao, meanwhile, watches from the sidelines, consumed with a helpless, bitter rage. She sees what is happening. She sees that she has been outmaneuvered, that the meek little nun she once dismissed has become the most dangerous woman in the palace. But she is powerless to stop it. You give birth, but it is not a son. It is a daughter. A small, healthy, beautiful baby girl. In that moment, a wave of disappointment washes over the court. A girl cannot be the heir. A girl does not change the line of succession. Empress Wang breathes a sigh of relief. Your child is not a threat. You are still her pawn. You hold your baby daughter in your arms. You look at her tiny, perfect face, and you see not a disappointment, but an opportunity more powerful and more terrible than any son could ever be. The birth of your son, Li Hong, solidifies your position. You are now the mother of the Emperor's eldest son, or at least, the eldest one he truly favors over Consort Xiao's. The palace buzzes with this new reality. You have fulfilled the most crucial duty of a consort. The balance of power has irrevocably shifted in your favor. Empress Wang and Consort Xiao, once your patrons and rivals, are now effectively sidelined. They are women with pasts. You are the woman with the future. You and the Empress maintain a facade of friendship, but it is thin and brittle. She had hoped to adopt your son, the common practice for a childless Empress to secure her status. You, with devastating politeness, refuse. You make it clear that you will raise your own son. The alliance is over. She sponsored your return to the palace to be her weapon, and now she watches in horror as that weapon turns in her hand, the point aimed directly at her own heart. You consolidate your power base with methodical precision. You use your influence with the Emperor to secure promotions for your family members and for officials who have shown you loyalty. You cultivate relationships with the younger, less established ministers at court, the ones who feel overlooked by the old guard that supports the Empress. You are building your own faction brick by loyal brick. Your relationship with Li Ji deepens. He is utterly dependent on you. His health has always been fragile. He suffers from chronic headaches and dizziness, what modern historians speculate might have been severe hypertension or an inner ear disorder. When these attacks come, he is incapacitated. And you are the only one who can soothe him. You become his nurse, his co-regent in all but name. When he is well, you discuss policy with him. When he is ill, you rule for him. The ministers become accustomed to receiving instructions not just from the Emperor but from you. At first, there is resistance. The old Confucian ministers are appalled. A woman meddling in the affairs of state. It is a violation of all tradition. But Li Ji trusts your judgment completely. My wife is wise, he tells them. To listen to her is to listen to me. You and the Empress are now in a cold war. She has the title, the history, the support of the great clans. You have the Emperor's heart, his ear and his heir. It is a standoff. And you know that to win, you need to remove her. But opposing an Empress is no small thing. It is a seismic event that requires a powerful justification. You need a reason. A big one. The accusation you choose is witchcraft. It's the classic, go to charge in harem politics. It's easy to fabricate and almost impossible to disprove. You begin to whisper to Li Ji. You tell him you are having nightmares. You tell him you found strange objects, small dolls with pins in them, buried near your son's quarters. You hint that the Empress, desperate and childless, is consorting with sorceresses, trying to curse you and your child. Simultaneously, you work on your allies in the government. You need them to formally petition the Emperor to depose Empress Wang and install you in her place. This is a crucial step. The move has to look like it comes from the will of the court, not just from your own ambition. You promise promotions, you call in favors, you apply pressure. But the old guard resists. The Chancellor, a man named Zhang Sun Wuji, is the most powerful opponent. He is the Emperor's uncle, a man of immense prestige who helped put Li Ji on the throne. He is the living embodiment of tradition. And he is having none of it. He sees you as a dangerous usurper, a threat to the stability of the dynasty. He and his allies block your every move in the court. They lecture the Emperor, reminding him that Empress Wang was chosen by his revered father, Emperor Taizong. To depose her would be an act of filial impiety. Li Ji is trapped. He wants to give you the title of Empress, but he is terrified of confronting his powerful uncle and the senior chancellors. He vacillates. He promises you he will do it, then backs down after a harsh scolding from his ministers. This is where your political genius truly shines. You realize you cannot win a direct confrontation. You need to go around the problem. You focus your attention on a mid-level official, a man named Li Weifu. He is ambitious, clever, and deeply disliked by the chancellors. He is known as Li the Cat because of his sly and cunning nature. He has been trying to get a promotion for months, but the old guard keeps blocking him. You summon him for a secret meeting. You make him a simple offer. You will use your influence with the Emperor to get him the promotion he craves. In return, you will be the first official to step forward and publicly petition for you to be made Empress. You will break the down. It's a brilliant move. Li Weifu is the perfect man for the job. He has nothing to lose and everything to gain. He is not afraid of the chancellors because they already despise him. He agrees immediately. The next day at court, after yet another argument about the succession, Li Weifu throws himself to the floor before the Emperor. In a loud, passionate voice, he declares, "Your Majesty, this is your family affair. Why must you ask for the approval of outsiders?" He then launches into a speech about your virtues, your wisdom, your fitness to be Empress. The court is stunned into silence. A junior official has just openly defied the most powerful men in the government. The chancellors are furious, but the spell is broken. Li Weifu's bold move emboldens other officials, your allies, to step forward and add their support. Li Ji is immensely relieved. He finally has the public backing he needed. He summons the chancellors and, with newfound confidence, informs them of his decision. He is deposing Empress Wang and Consort Xiao, and he is making you, Wu Zhao, his new Empress. Zhang Sun Wuji and the others protest, but it's too late. The momentum is against them. You are about to receive the title you have fought for, schemed for, and dreamed of for over a decade. You are to be the Empress of the great Tang Dynasty. But being Empress is not the end of your ambition. It is just the beginning. The news arrives like a thunderclap. It's not a whispered rumor this time, not a court gossip. It's an official decree. You are to be a mother. The court physicians, their faces a mixture of joy and sheer terror at the responsibility, confirm it. You are pregnant again. This pregnancy is different from the first. When you carried your son, you were still fighting for your position as Zhao Yi, building alliances in the shadows. Now you are the Empress. Your every craving is a state command. Your health is the subject of daily imperial briefings. The entire palace revolves around you, a planet orbiting its sun. You carry the child with a sense of regal calm. This is your validation. You are not just the beautiful woman who captured the emperor's heart, or the clever politician who outmaneuvered her rivals. You are the fertile mother of the nation, the vessel for the future of the dynasty. Each day that your belly swells, your authority grows with it. You know that many at court still see you as an upstart. The old aristocratic clans who supported the former Empress Wang look at you with thinly veiled contempt. They see your provincial, merchant-class background as common. They whisper that you are a cuckoo in their noble nest. A son would silence some of them, but what if it isn't a son? The birth is long and difficult, but you are attended by the best midwives in the empire. Finally, it's over. The baby is cleaned and swaddled in the finest, softest imperial silk. A girl. You hold her in your arms. She is impossibly small, her face serene and perfect. A wave of emotions washes over you. There is the profound, primal love of a mother for her newborn child. But you are not just a mother, you are Empress Wu. And as you look at this tiny, helpless infant, your mind, always calculating, always seeing the angles, begins to work. A daughter in this world, a daughter is a disappointment. She cannot carry on the family name. She is, in political terms, a beautiful, precious, useless subject. A tool for a future marriage alliance, nothing more. You can see the relief on the faces of your enemies, the slight relaxation in their shoulders. The upstart Empress had a girl. The threat Empress had a girl. Li Ji is overjoyed. He adores the baby. He visits your chambers constantly, cooing over the cradle, marveling at her tiny fingers. He sees a daughter, a symbol of his love for you. He is a simple, good-hearted man in so many ways. He does not see the world as a chessboard. You do. The former Empress Wang is still a threat. She is under house arrest, confined to a dreary, secluded courtyard within the palace. But she is not gone. The great clans still see her as the legitimate empress. There are whispers of plots to restore her. As long as she is alive, she is a rallying point for your enemies. You need to remove her, permanently. And you need a reason so monstrous, so unforgivable, that no one will ever dare to speak her name again. A few days after the birth, Empress Wang asks for permission to visit you and see the new baby. It is a calculated move on her part, an attempt to show that she is not bitter, that she accepts her fate with grace. A public display of magnanimity. You grant her request. This is the moment that historians will argue about for nearly 1500 years. It is the defining, horrifying act of your story, the one that will forever stain your name. The official histories written by Confucian scholars who despised you are unflinching in their account. Modern historians are more skeptical, wondering if it was a slander invented by your enemies to discredit you. There is no definitive proof. There is only the story. The former Empress Wang enters your chambers. You greet her with cool politeness. The atmosphere is thick with unspoken history. She walks over to the cradle. She looks down at the sleeping infant, a beautiful baby girl wrapped in silk. She murmurs a few pleasantries. She might even, some accounts say, reach down and gently touch the baby's cheek. She stays for a few minutes, the visit a masterpiece of awkward formality, and then she leaves. You are alone in the room with your daughter. The door has just closed behind the former Empress. You walk over to the cradle, your own flesh and blood, and then you act. You press the heavy silk blankets over the baby's face, firmly until the tiny, struggling movements cease. A profound and absolute silence fills the room. A few moments later, the Emperor Li Ji arrives. He is beaming, eager to see his new daughter. You greet him with a radiant smile. You are just in time, you say. She was awakened, gurgling just a moment ago. Go, look at her. He hurries to the cradle. He pulls back the blanket to look at his sleeping child, and he finds her still and cold. A cry of pure anguish tears from his throat. He turns to you, his face a mask of confusion and horror. What happened? She was fine. And now you let your own composure break. You collapse into sobs, your body racked with perfectly timed, theatrical grief. I don't know. You stammer through your tears. She was fine, and then the Empress was just here. The implication hangs in the air, more powerful than any direct accusation. The Empress was just here, the last person to see the child alive. Lazy, his grief turns instantly to a towering rage. In his mind, the sequence is simple. The jealous, bitter, childless ex-wife, in an act of monstrous spite, has murdered his beloved new daughter. It is the only explanation that makes sense to his shattered mind. He storms out of the room, shouting for the guards. The investigation is swift and brutal. The serving maids in your chambers, under immense pressure, confess that they saw the Empress lingering by the cradle. They might even have seen her fiddling with the blankets. It doesn't matter what the truth is. The verdict has already been decided. You have taken the most precious thing in your life, your own child, and you have turned her into a weapon of unimaginable power. You have not just created a reason to eliminate your rival. You have created a tale that will be whispered in the palace for generations. You have made Empress Wang not just a political opponent, but a baby killer. A monster. No one will ever dare to support her again. You have achieved your goal. The cost is a small, silent body in a silk-lined cradle, and a piece of your own soul. The aftermath of your daughter's death is a storm of calculated grief and righteous fury. You play the part of bereaved mother to perfection. You are seen weeping in the palace garden. You seclude yourself, allowing only the emperor to console you. Your performance is flawless, and it has its desired effect. The entire court now sees you not as a ruthless political operator, but as a tragic victim. Li Ji, your husband, is consumed by a rage that borders on madness. The story you have so carefully crafted has taken root in his mind and become an unshakable truth. The gentle, melancholic scholar is gone, replaced by an avenging angel. He needs no more convincing. Empress Wang and her former ally, Consort Xiao, are not just political liabilities anymore. They are monsters who must be punished. He orders them to be stripped of all their titles. They are to be officially demoted to the rank of commoners. Their families are exiled to the furthest, most inhospitable corners of the empire. This alone is a devastating punishment, a complete social and political annihilation. But for you, it is not enough. As long as they are alive, they are a loose thread, a potential rallying point for your enemies. They are imprisoned in a small, sealed-off courtyard within the palace. The doors are locked, the windows are barred. Their food is passed to them through a small hole in the wall. They are left to rot in the darkness, to ghosts haunting the edges of your victory. For a while, this seems to be the end of their story. You are now the undisputed Empress. You have a healthy son. Your greatest rivals are gone, but you are a thorough woman. You understand that true security comes not just from winning, but from ensuring your enemies can never, ever rise again. One day, several weeks later, the Emperor Li Ji is walking through the palace. His rage has cooled, replaced by his more natural disposition of soft-heartedness. He finds himself near the courtyard where the two women are being held. A wave of guilt, or perhaps nostalgia, washes over him. After all, one was his first wife, the other his first wife. On an impulse, he orders the guards to unseal the door. He finds them in a state of utter squalor. They are emaciated, dressed in rags, their hair matted. The once proud Empress and the once vibrant consort are barely recognizable. Seeing their pitiful state, Li Ji is moved. He looks at them and says, his voice thick with emotion, "I miss you. I will have you released and moved to a better residence." He promises to find a new name for their courtyard, calling it the Courtyard of Renewal. He means it as an act of mercy. He thinks it is a private, personal gesture. He is a fool. The guards and eunuchs who witness this exchange are your eyes and ears. The news of the Emperor's sentimental visit reaches you within the hour. You are in your chambers, overseeing your son's lessons, the very picture of maternal grace. But when you hear what has happened, a cold, hard fury grips you. He promised to release them. He showed them weakness. He has potentially undone all of your careful, brutal work. A living, pardoned Empress Wang, even one in a nicer prison, could reignite the hopes of the old aristocratic clans. It is a risk you cannot and will not tolerate. You act immediately. You do not wait for the Emperor's official order of release. You do not argue with him. You know that to confront him directly would be a mistake. He would grow defensive, perhaps even resentful of your interference. So you bypass him entirely. You issue an order of your own. You send your eunuchs to the courtyard. They carry with them a formal edict, stamped with your own seal. It is a death sentence, but it is not a clean, swift death. It is a death designed to send a message of absolute terror to anyone who would ever think of crossing you. The two women are dragged from their cell. Each is to receive 100 lashes with a thick, T-horned cane. The punishment is so severe that their legs are flayed to the bone. They are still alive, barely, when the next part of your order is carried out. You have commanded that their hands and feet be cut off. The final and most debated part of the story, a detail so gruesome many historians think must be a later embellishment to vilify you, as what you did next. The legend says you had their limbless, bleeding torsos thrown into large vats of wine. You looked down at them and said, with chilling irony, "Now these two witches can get drunk to their bones." Whether that final ghoulish detail is true or not, the core fact remains. You had them tortured and executed in the most brutal way imaginable. It was an act of supreme and terrifying cruelty. It was also a political masterstroke. When Li Ji hears what you have done, he is horrified. He is sickened. But he is also powerless. You have presented him with a finished fact. The women are dead. There is nothing to be done. To punish you for it would be to admit that he had been wrong, to publicly declare that you had usurped his authority. He is too weak, too dependent on you to do that. So he says nothing. He simply acquiesces to the horror. For weeks after, the palace is haunted by this event. It is said that you were tormented by nightmares, that you saw the vengeful ghosts of the two women, their hair wild, their bodies mutilated, calling out for you. Whether this is true or just another story told by your enemies, the fact is you moved the court. Shortly after the executions, you and the emperor relocated from the main palace complex in Changhan to the secondary, eastern capital of Luoring. Some say it was for political reasons, but many whispered it was because you could no longer bear to live in the place where you had shed so much blood. You were trying to outrun your ghosts, but they would follow you for the rest of your life. With your rivals physically and spiritually annihilated, the palace is now yours. You are the undisputed Empress, the sole consort, the mother of the heir. There are no more factions to fight, no more whispers in the corridors challenging your right to be there. There is only your will. And your will, it turns out, is to rule. You move to the eastern capital, Luoring, and begin to remake the court in your own image. Luoring is a pointedly political choice. The old capital, Changhan, was the power base of the northwestern aristocratic clans, the families who had supported Empress Wan and looked down on you. Luoring is your city. Here, you can promote your own people, the lower gentry scholars and officials who owe their careers entirely to you. You are severing the old roots of power and planting your own. Li Zi, his health continues to decline. His headaches become more frequent, his vision blurs. He often has to retreat to a darkened room for days on end, leaving the business of the empire unattended. And you are always there to step into the void. At first, it's informal. A minister comes with an urgent report the emperor is indisposed, and you say, "Tell me." I will convey it to his majesty when he is well. You listen, you grasp the details with your sharp mind, and you suggest a course of action. The minister, eager for a decision, takes it. Your solution proves effective. The next time, he comes to you directly. This evolves into a more formal arrangement. You begin to hold court from behind a silk screen or a curtain placed just behind the emperor's throne. This is a clever piece of political theater. It preserves the fiction that the emperor is in charge. His male form is on the throne, fulfilling the sacred, patriarchal requirements. But the voice of authority, the mind making the decisions, is yours, shielded from the direct gaze of the all-male court. The ministers stand before the throne and address the emperor. But it is your voice that often replies from behind the curtain, asking sharp questions, dissecting their proposals, issuing commands. It is a deeply strange and, for many, a deeply unsettling experience. They are ruled by a phantom, a disembodied female voice. The old guard hates it. They see it as the ultimate perversion of order. The empire is being run by a woman from the shadows. They complain to Li Ji, but he is too weary, too ill, and too reliant on you to do anything. The Empress is wise. He repeats like a mantra, "Her decisions are my decisions." You prove to be an exceptionally competent ruler. You have a talent for identifying and promoting capable men, regardless of their family background. You streamline the bureaucracy. You commission agricultural projects. You are tough on corruption. The empire, under your de facto leadership, is stable and prosperous. You are good at this. And you love it. You love the intricate dance of policy, the satisfaction of a well-executed plan, the sheer, raw feeling of power. This period gives rise to a truly unique political phenomenon in Chinese history. You and Li Ji become known as the two holy sages. It is a term of respect, but also a quiet acknowledgement of the bizarre reality of the situation. The empire does not have one ruler. It has two. You are not just the Empress. You are a co-sovereign. Your sons grow up in this strange environment. Li Hong, the crown prince, is a sensitive and intelligent boy, much like his father. He is kind, scholarly, and deeply compassionate. He is also, unfortunately for him, a committed Confucian. He believes in the proper order of things, and the proper order does not a ruling from behind a curtain. As he grows into a young man, he begins to gently push back. He is troubled by your ruthlessness. He is particularly disturbed by the fate of the two daughters of the executed consort Xiao. The girls have been kept under house arrest their entire lives. Now well past the age of marriage, their existence a forgotten, embarrassing secret. Li Hong, in an act of compassion, formally petitions his father and by extension, you to allow them to be married off. This is a direct challenge to your authority. It is a public act of mercy that implicitly criticizes your past actions. You are furious. Who is this boy, your own son, to question you? To dredge up the past you have worked so hard to bury. You consent to the marriages. To refuse would make you look cruel. But you do not forget the slight. A coldness enters your relationship with your eldest son. He is the heir, your own flesh and blood, but he has demonstrated a dangerous streak of independence. He has shown that his loyalty is to his Confucian principles, not to you. And in your world, loyalty must be absolute. A few years later, Li Hong, still a young man, dies suddenly. The official cause is given as consumption, a common enough ailment. But the timing is convenient. He died shortly after another disagreement with you, this time over your increasing consolidation of power. Historians are deeply divided. Did he die of natural causes? Or did you, as your enemies claimed, have him poisoned, the woman who could allegedly smother her own infant daughter and have her rival's limbs chopped off was surely capable of poisoning a son who stood in her way? There is no proof, only the dark cloud of suspicion that hangs over the event. Your second son, Li Zetian, a more pliable and less principled young man, is made the new crown prince. You have now ruled from behind the curtain for years. You have tasted absolute power, and you have found it to be your native element. The two holy sages are no longer a partnership of equals. The emperor is a fading ghost, and the empress is the only sage that matters. You are stepping further and further out from behind the curtain, and you are beginning to wonder why you need the curtain at all. The death of Emperor Li Ji, when it finally comes in 683, is almost an anticlimax. He has been a shadow for so long, a figurehead on a throne, that his physical absence barely changes the political reality. The power has been in your hands for years. Now, it is officially so. You do not weep for the man. You weep for the husband, perhaps, for the gentle, melancholic boy who wrote you poems, the man who loved you and gave you everything you asked for, even when he knew he shouldn't. But as the empress, as the ruler, you do not have time for grief. You have a transition to manage. According to tradition, your son, the crown prince Li Zetian, now ascends the throne. He becomes Emperor Zongzong. He is young, headstrong, and not nearly as clever as he thinks he is. You, as the mother of the emperor, are now the Empress Dowager. This is a position of immense respect and, potentially, immense power. You are meant to be the wise elder, the moral guide for the new reign. You have no intention of just being a moral guide. You attend your first court audience as Empress Dowager. You sit, as is your right, on a throne beside your sons, separated only by a thin, almost transparent, silk curtain. It is a symbolic continuation of the two holy sages. Ametu has really changed. You are signaling to the court that nothing has really changed. You are still in charge. Your son, the new emperor, has other ideas. He is eager to escape your shadow, to prove that he is his own man. And he makes a catastrophic political blunder almost immediately. His wife, the new Empress Wei, is an ambitious woman from a family of no particular distinction. She wants her father to be made chancellor, the highest post in the civil government. Li Xian, besotted with his wife and puffed up with his new authority, agrees. He announces his intention to the court. The senior ministers are aghast. The Empress's father has no experience, no qualifications for the role. It is a blatant act of nepotism. One of your most loyal ministers, a man named Pei Yan, argues against it forcefully. And then your son says the words that seal his fate. Frustrated and angry at being challenged, he snaps at the minister, "What's the problem? I could give the entire empire away to my father-in-law if I wanted to. What business is it of yours?" The court is plunged into a shocked silence. This is not just arrogance. This is treasonous language. The emperor has just suggested he views the empire as his personal property to give away at a whim. The minister Pei Yan, a man you yourself promoted, knows exactly what to do. He goes straight to you. He reports the emperor's outrageous statement. This is the justification you needed. You didn't even have to manufacture it. Your own son handed it to you on a silver platter. You act with breathtaking speed. You summon the commanders of the palace guard, men whose loyalty is to you, not to the boy emperor. You call an emergency session of the court. You sit on your throne, your face a mask of cold fury and righteous sorrow. Your son, Emperor Zongzong, is dragged before you. He is confused, bewildered. "What have I done?" he asks, looking at you. You read out his crimes, your voice ringing through the silent hall. You accuse him of incompetence, of nepotism, and of speaking treasonous words that betray the trust of his ancestors and the mandate of heaven. You announce that he is unfit to rule. With the backing of the ministers and the army, you officially depose him. He has been on the throne for less than 2 months. He is exiled, sent to a remote province to live under house arrest. His wife, the ambitious Empress Wei, goes with him. They are now political non-entities. This is a stunning move. An Empress Dowager deposing her own son is not unheard of, but the speed and efficiency with which you do it is terrifying. You have demonstrated that you will not tolerate even the slightest challenge to your authority, not even from your own child. Now you have a problem. There is an empty throne. An empire cannot be without an emperor. So you reach for your spare. Your youngest son, Li Dan. He is a quiet, scholarly, and deeply unambitious young man. He has seen what happened to his 2 older brothers, one dead under suspicious circumstances, the other deposed and exiled. He understands the political climate perfectly. You summon him. You inform him that he is to be the new emperor, Emperor Ruizong. He is terrified. He begs you not to give him the throne. He knows it is a poisoned chalice. He knows he will be nothing but a puppet. You, of course, do not listen to his protests. He is formally installed as the new emperor. But this time, you dispense with even the pretense of sharing power. He is not even allowed to live in the main imperial quarters. He is essentially a prisoner in the inner court. He does not attend audiences. He does not review edicts. He does not meet with ministers. His sole function is to exist, to be a living, breathing male placeholder on the dragon throne so that the patriarchal system remains technically intact. You rule openly and absolutely in his name. You have moved beyond the curtain. You are now the regent, the sole undisputed ruler of the Tang Empire. The court is filled with your loyalists. The army is commanded by your generals. You have neutralized the aristocracy, promoted your own people, and deposed two of your own sons. You have methodically eliminated every single obstacle between yourself and the throne. There is now only one more step to take. The biggest, most world-changing step of all. You are no longer content to rule in your son's name. You are going to rule in your own. But to do that, a woman sitting on the dragon throne, you will need to convince the empire that you are not just an empress. You are a god. With your youngest son, Li Dan, safely tucked away in the inner court like a precious but powerless porcelain doll, you are the government. There is no more curtain, no more pretense. You are the regent, but in reality, you are the absolute monarch. And you begin to notice a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem of information. How do you, sitting in your grand palace in Luoring, know what the people are truly thinking? How do you identify corrupt officials in distant provinces? How do you uncover plots before they can bloom into rebellions? The traditional channels, ministers, memorials, official reports are all filtered. People tell you what they think you want to hear. You need a direct line to the heart of the empire. You need a way to harvest whispers, to encourage secrets, to weaponize grievance. And your solution is both ingenious and terrifying. You order the casting of 4 large, ornate copper boxes or caskets to be placed in the public square near the palace gates. Each box has a slot in the top, and each is for a different purpose. The first box is for men of talent who feel they are being overlooked. If you are a skilled administrator, a brilliant strategist, or a gifted scholar, and the bureaucracy is ignoring you, you can write down your qualifications and drop your name in this box. It is a direct appeal for a job bypassing the entire civil service system. The second box is for criticism. Anyone, from a high-ranking minister to a humble farmer, can write a critique of government policy or even of you, the Empress Regent, and post it anonymously. It is, in theory, a suggestion box for the entire empire. The third box is for strange and supernatural portents. Has a sheep been born with 2 heads in your village? Did a strange comet appear in the sky? Have you had a prophetic dream? You want to know. You are building a new narrative for yourself, and you need auspicious signs. And the fourth box is the one that will cast a long dark shadow over your reign. It is for accusations, for secrets, for denouncing your enemies. If you know a minister is taking bribes, if you suspect your neighbor is plotting treason, if you have a grudge against a local official, you can write it all down and slip it into the fourth box. To encourage people to use this system, you make a promise. Anyone who travels to the capital to submit a suggestion or an accusation will be provided with food and a horse from government post stations. You have essentially created a state-sponsored system for informants. The results are immediate and overwhelming. The boxes are flooded with slips of bamboo and paper. Your staff works day and night, sorting, reading, analyzing, and out of this flood of information, you begin to build your secret police. You appoint a group of men to run this new system. They are not noblemen or respected scholars. They are men like Lai Jun Chen and Wan Jiuo Jun, individuals known for their cruelty, their ambition, and their complete lack of scruples. They are your instruments. They are your instruments. Their job is to investigate the accusations that come through the copper boxes. And investigate is a very polite word for what they do. A new reign of terror begins, often called the White Terror, by later historians. An accusation is all it takes. Prime Minister might be at his desk in the morning and find himself in a dungeon by noon, with no idea who has accused him or why. Your secret police develop a horrificously efficient system. They perfect the art of torture, not necessarily to kill, but to extract confessions. They author a book, a sort of textbook for torment, called the Manual of Entrapment. It details how to psychologically break a prisoner, how to use leading questions, and how to fabricate a conspiracy that implicates the prisoner's entire network of friends and family. One of their favorite techniques is the grand audience. A prisoner is brought into a room. All around him are instruments of torture, laid out as if for a feast. The interrogator doesn't even have to use them. He simply points to each one and calmly explains, in excruciating detail, what it does. Most men confess to anything and everything long before a single instrument is touched. This system has two effects. On the one hand, it is brutally effective at eliminating your political enemies. The old aristocratic families from Changhan, the ones who always resented you, are decimated. One by one, they are brought down by accusations of treason, their families exiled, their wealth confiscated. You are systematically destroying the last vestiges of the old Tang elite. But the system also spirals out of control. The informants realize they can use the boxes to settle personal scores. A business rival, a neighbor you have a dispute with, an official who slighted you, all can be removed with a simple, anonymous note. A climate of intense fear and paranoia descends upon the empire. No one trusts anyone. A careless word at a dinner party could lead to your death. Even your most loyal supporters are not safe. One of your own chancellors, a man who helped you depose your son, finds himself accused. He is innocent, but that doesn't matter. He is caught in the machine he helped create. Are you aware of the horrors being committed in your name? Almost certainly. Historians debate the extent to which you micromanaged the terror. Were you a distant monarch who simply unleashed these forces, or did you read the daily reports, savoring the details of your enemy's destruction? The truth is likely that you saw it as a necessary evil, a harsh but effective tool for consolidating power and purging the state of anyone who might stand in your way. You are using fear as a tool of governance. You have proven you can depose your own sons, execute your rivals, and now you have shown that your reach extends into every corner of the empire. A single, anonymous piece of paper in a copper box in Liuoring can lead to the destruction of a powerful family 1,000 miles away. You have made yourself omnipresent and omniscient. You have made yourself feared. Now, you must make yourself divine. While your secret police are busy terrorizing the old aristocracy into submission, you are engaged in a different kind of project, a brilliant, multi-pronged propaganda campaign to justify the unthinkable. You are preparing to take the throne yourself, not as a regent, but as emperor. And to do that, you need to fundamentally rewrite the rules of Chinese cosmology. For thousands of years, the concept of the ruler, the son of heaven, was exclusively male. The entire philosophical and religious foundation of the state was built on this patriarchal principle. A woman assuming that title was not just unconventional, it was nonsensical. It was like declaring that the moon was now the sun. You cannot just seize the throne. You have to make the world believe that heaven itself wants you to have it. So you begin to manufacture miracles. The third of your copper boxes, the one for supernatural portents, becomes a crucial tool. Suddenly, auspicious omens are being discovered all over the empire. A farmer in a distant province unearths a white stone with a mysterious inscription on it. The Holy Mother shall come to rule mankind, and her empire will enjoy eternal prosperity. The farmer, of course, is rewarded handsomely for his discovery and his sharp eyes. The stone is brought to the capital with great ceremony and put on display. Strange, beautiful birds, never seen before, begin to appear in the palace gardens. Your tame propagandists write poems about how these are phoenixes, mythical creatures that only appear when a truly sage ruler is present. Rare and auspicious Ling Zi mushrooms, symbols of immortality, are found growing in the palace grounds. Everything is a sign. Everything is a portent. The universe itself, it seems, is trying to tell the people something. But you need more than folk omens. You need a theological justification. And you find it in Buddhism. Buddhism was already a major religion in China, but you elevate it to a status it had never known before. You become its greatest patron. You pour immense sums of money into building temples, commissioning statues, and sponsoring scholarly translations of sutras. You do this partly out of genuine belief, but mostly out of political calculation. Confucianism, with its rigid patriarchal hierarchies, is the ideology of your enemies, the old scholar officials. Buddhism is your tool, more open to new interpretations. You find a scholar, a man named Zhu Huiyi, who is, not coincidentally, also your current favorite and lover, to lead a team of monks on a very specific research project. Their task is to scour the vast library of Buddhist scriptures for any passage, that could be interpreted as predicting the arrival of a female ruler. And, miraculously, they find one. They discover a commentary on a minor text called the Great Cloud Sutra. This commentary claims that the Buddha prophesied that a female deity, the Bodhisattva Maitreya, would be reincarnated in human form as a female sovereign to rule the world and bring about an age of peace and prosperity. It is the ultimate justification. You are not just a woman seizing power. You are the fulfillment of a divine prophecy. You are a living Buddha. You order this commentary to be printed and distributed to every single monastery in the empire. Monks are instructed to lecture on it from their pulpits. Soon, from every corner of the land, the people are hearing that a new age is dawning, led by a female savior. But you are not done. You need to attack the old system as well. You commission your scholars to write a new book, biographies of exemplary women. For centuries, this type of book had been used to promote Confucian virtues, telling stories of docile, obedient, and self-sacrificing women. Your version is different. It is filled with stories of decisive, intelligent, and powerful women rulers, advisors, and scholars who shaped history. You are rewriting the past to create a precedent for your own future. Then, in perhaps your most audacious and creative move, you decide that the existing language is insufficient to describe you. The Chinese written language is ancient, sacred, and imbued with deep meaning. You decide to invent a new character. You convene your top scholars and task them with creating a completely new written symbol just for you to be used in your personal name. The character they create is Xiaozhao. It is a complex and beautiful symbol, combining the characters for sun, and moon yue together in the sky Kong. You are not just the sun or the moon. You are both, shining down on the universe. You are a unique being, beyond the normal categories of gender, a power that encompasses all light. You order this new, invented character to be added to the official lexicon. It is to be used only for your name. To even write it is to acknowledge your unique, semi-divine status. The stage is now set. You have crushed your enemies with your secret police. You have flooded the empire with manufactured omens on the new theology that casts you as a living goddess. You have rewritten history and even invented a new piece of the language to describe yourself. You have spent years meticulously building an ideological ladder. And now you are ready to climb it. In the year 690, a group of your supporters, led by your favorite, Zhu Huiyi, marches to the palace gates with a petition signed by 60,000 people. The petition begs you to do what has been unthinkable for 3,000 years. It begs you to ascend the dragon throne not as a regent, but as emperor in your own right, and to declare a new dynasty. Your son, the puppet Emperor Ruizong, formally offers his abdication. He even requests to take your mother's surname Wu, to show that he is your son first and only second. You go through the traditional, theatrical show of refusing 3 times. It is a sign of humility, a necessary part of the ritual. But everyone knows it is just a formality. On the 3rd request, you accept. The day of your ascension is a masterpiece of political theater. You stand before the court not as an empress dowager, not as a regent, but as the sovereign. You are not wearing the elaborate, phoenix-adorned robes of an empress. You are wearing the dragon robe, the imperial yellow, the embroidered symbols of cosmic power, the sun, the moon, the mountains, the constellations, all the iconography of ultimate authority that has, for millennia, been reserved for men. The sight of you, the 67-year-old woman in the sacred vestments of the Son of Heaven, must have been a profound shock. It was a visual rupture in the fabric of reality. You announce that the mandate of heaven has shifted. The Tang Dynasty, founded by the Li family, is over. You proclaim the beginning of a new dynasty. Your dynasty, you name it the Zhou Dynasty, a deliberate callback to the ancient, revered Zhou Dynasty of classic Chinese history. You are not just starting something new. You are restoring something ancient and golden. And then you announce your new title. You are not just emperor. You are Shengshan Huangdi, the holy and divine emperor. It is a title of unprecedented grandeur. You have not just taken a man's role. You have elevated it. The reaction from the court is a carefully orchestrated chorus of approval. The ministers, all of them your men, perform the full kowtow, pressing their foreheads to the floor. They are no longer your advisors, they are your subjects. But outside the palace walls, the reality is more complex. How does an empire process this? How do soldiers on the frontier, farmers in the field, merchants on the Silk Road, wrap their minds around the idea of a female emperor? The truth is, for many, life doesn't change much. They pay their taxes to the tax collector, they obey the local magistrate. The gender of the ultimate ruler in the distant capital is an abstract concept. But for the literate elite, the gentry, the scholars, this is a moment of profound crisis. It forces them to question everything they know about the world. You understand this? And you know that while your propaganda has been effective, you must now govern effectively. You must prove that a woman can do the job not just as well as a man but better. And in many ways you do. Your reign as emperor of the Zhou dynasty is by many metrics a period of stability and prosperity. You continue your policy of promoting men of talent, regardless of their social standing. The civil service examinations become even more important, creating a meritocratic government run by skilled than just hereditary nobles. This infuriates the old aristocratic clans but makes for a more efficient state. You are also a master of foreign policy. You project an image of strength. When the nomadic tribes on the northern and western frontiers threaten invasion, you respond with a decisive combination of military force and clever diplomacy. You expand the empire's influence into Central Asia and the Korean Peninsula. You are no one's weak female ruler. You command armies and you win wars. But your court remains a strange and often decadent place. Your favoritism is legendary. The monk Su Huiyi, who helped you with the Great Cloud Sutra, is now one of the most powerful men in the empire. He is arrogant, corrupt, and throws his weight around with impunity. He commands armies despite having no military experience. At one point, in a fit of pique after you start seeing other favorites, he burns down the magnificent Ming Tang, the Hall of Light, one of the grandest architectural symbols of your reign. This act of arson and treason would have meant a slow, painful death for anyone else. You have him quietly murdered, but you never publicly punish him, a sign of how complicated and personal your court had become. This is a recurring theme. Your judgment in policy is often sharp and rational. Your judgment in people, especially the men you favor, is often clouded by emotion and personal whim. And then there's the question of succession. It is the great, unsolvable problem of your reign. A dynasty is defined by its bloodline, but who will succeed you? You are the founder and the sole member of the Wu dynasty. Your ambitious nephews from your own Wu clan see an opportunity. They argue that an emperor should, of course, be succeeded by someone of the same surname. They petition you to make one of them the crown prince. It is the logical choice if you want your own dynasty to continue. You are torn. For years, you wrestle with this problem. You are caught between your loyalty to your own family, the Wu clan, and your lingering affection for your sons, the Li family. The court divides into factions, backing either the Wu princes or the Li princes. The succession crisis simmers, threatening to boil over into civil war. It is your most trusted advisor, the legendary detective and statesman Dare Nji, a real historical figure who would later be immortalized in popular fiction, who finally convinces you. The historical accounts of his argument are a masterclass in political psychology. He doesn't appeal to your sense of justice or tradition. He appeals to your vanity and your legacy. He asks you a simple question: Your Majesty, if you choose your son, you will be honored for all time in the Li family's ancestral temple as a revered mother. If you choose your nephew, have you ever heard of a nephew setting up an ancestral tablet for his aunt? The argument is brutal but effective. Your nephews, once they are emperor, will honor their own parents, not you. Your own sons, however, will be obligated by the deepest ties of filial piety to honor you as their mother for eternity. Your immortality, your place in history, is safer with your sons. You are an old woman now. You have ruled as emperor for years. You have achieved the impossible. But the question of what comes after you, the one thing that defines a dynasty, remains your greatest challenge. In a moment of supreme irony, you realize that the only way to secure your own legacy is to restore the very dynasty you overthrew. You order your exiled son, Zetian, the one you deposed decades ago, to be brought back to the capital and secretly reinstated as crown prince. The final years of your reign are a strange twilight. You are in your late 70s, then early 80s. You have held absolute power for longer than most people have been alive. You have outlived your enemies, your allies, and even some of your own children. The sheer force of your will has held the empire together for decades, but now that will is beginning to fray. Your body is failing you. The endless work of governance, the constant vigilance, has taken its toll. You spend more and more time confined to your bedchambers in the palace of long life. The daily audiences with ministers become less frequent. Edicts are issued from your bedside. The empire, for the first time in a long time, feels like it's running on momentum, waiting for the inevitable. And in this power vacuum, a new and peculiar force emerges at court: the Zhang brothers. They are Zhang Yizhi Qian Zhang Zhangzong, two young, handsome, and charming brothers from a modest background. They are not brilliant scholars or hardened generals. They are court entertainers. They are skilled in music, poetry, and, most importantly, the art of pleasing an elderly, lonely, and powerful woman. They become your constant companions, your final favorites. You shower them with titles, with wealth, with influence. They are given high-ranking positions at court for which they have no qualification. They swagger through the palace draped in silks, their arrogance matched only by their ambition. The ministers who once had direct access to you now find they must go through the Zhang brothers to get a message to you. The brothers become the gatekeepers of the ailing emperor. This is a detail that your enemies, the Confucian historians, would later seize upon with glee. They painted this final chapter of your life as a descent into senile decadence, a once great ruler reduced to a foolish old woman, besotted with her young lovers, allowing them to run the country into the ground. Is that fair? The historical record is, as always, more complicated. There is no evidence that the Zhang brothers actually dictated major state policy. You were far too shrewd, even in your old age, to let that happen. The core functions of the government continued under the professional civil servants you had spent a lifetime promoting. But the brothers' influence was undeniable. They controlled access to you, they poisoned you against ministers they disliked, and they created an atmosphere of corruption and resentment at the very heart of the court. They were a symptom of your decline, a symbol that the iron grip was finally loosening. Your son Zetian, the restored crown prince, is in an impossible position. He is back in the capital, the recognized heir. But he is forced to be subservient not only to you, his mother and emperor, but also to the Zhang brothers. He has to treat these two upstart pretty boys with the respect due to high ministers. The humiliation must have been immense. He waits, patiently, biding his time. The end comes not with a bang but with a quiet, efficient coup. In the winter of 705, you fall gravely ill. It becomes clear that you do not have long to live. The senior ministers, men who have served you for decades, finally decide to act. They fear that if you die, the ambitious Zhang brothers might try to seize power, perhaps by forging your will or murdering the crown prince. The stability of the empire is at stake. A group of chancellors, led by a man named Zhongji and Zhe Chai, plot the coup. They are not your enemies. In a strange way, this is their final act of loyalty to the stable empire you created. They are protecting your system from the chaos of your final, personal weaknesses. One snowy morning, the plotters, with a contingent of the palace guard, storm the palace of long life. They march straight to the chambers of the Zhang brothers and execute them on the spot. Then, with their bloody swords still in hand, they surround your bedchamber. You are woken by the commotion. You sit up in bed, an old, frail woman, but your eyes still flash with the authority of an emperor. Who is causing this disturbance? You demand, your voice weak but still commanding. The lead conspirator, the chancellor, steps forward. He tells you that the Zhang brothers have been executed for treason. He then requests that you abdicate the throne in favor of your son, the Crown Prince Zetian. This is the moment. The end of the road. Decades ago, you took power with speed and ruthlessness. Now, it is being taken from you in the same way. You look at the grim-faced men surrounding your bed. You are sharp enough to understand exactly what is happening. You could fight. You could call for your own guards. But you are tired. The fight has gone out of you. You look at them, and with a final, weary flicker of your old self, you give in. It is you who have dealt with these two, you are reported to have said, a hint of dry, ironic gratitude in your voice. I am grateful to you. You know they have done what you were perhaps no longer strong enough to do yourself. The transition is swift. You formally abdicate. Your son, Li Xian, takes the throne for the second time, becoming Emperor Zhongzong once more. One of his first acts is to restore the name of the dynasty. Your Zhou dynasty, your great, world-changing project, is officially over. The Tang Dynasty is back. You are given the respectful title of Grand Empress Zetian, the Great Sage. You are moved to a different palace, a comfortable and luxurious prison. You are treated with the utmost formal respect, but you are once again powerless. A living monument, a relic of a strange and glorious era. You live for a few more months. You watch from your window as the court works to systematically erase your dynasty. The new character you invented for your name is abolished. Your ancestral temples are dismantled. The world you built is being taken apart piece by piece. You die in late 705 at the age of 81. Your final will and testament is a masterpiece of political maneuvering, your last move on the great chessboard. In it, you request to be stripped of your title of emperor. You ask to be referred to simply as Empress Wu, the consort of Emperor Gaozong Li Ji. You ask to be buried alongside him in his tomb. It is a stunning, fine act of humility, or perhaps of supreme calculation. By relinquishing the title of emperor, you ensure you will be entombed with the honor due to an imperial consort, forever linked to the legitimate Tang line. You are ensuring your place in their ancestral temple, just as Durenji advised all those years ago. You are retreating back into the role of a wife and mother, securing your eternal legacy by erasing your own revolution. You came into this world as Wu Zhao, and you leave it as Empress Wu. The holy and divine Emperor Shengsheng, the ruler of the Zhou dynasty, has vanished like a dream upon waking, and so you are laid to rest. Not in a tomb of your own, as the founder of a dynasty might expect, but beside your husband, Li Ji. Just as you asked, your final resting place is a mountain, the Liangshan Hill, hollowed out to become the Qianling Mausoleum. It is a place of immense scale and silent grandeur, a testament to the power of the Tang Dynasty you both ruled and interrupted. A long, wide spirit road leads to the entrance of your shared tomb. It is lined with colossal stone figures, a silent army standing guard for eternity. There are winged horses, mythical birds, and stern-faced military officials, all carved from single blocks of granite. And most curiously, there are 61 statues of foreign emissaries and tribal chiefs who attended your husband's funeral. They stand, hands clasped respectfully, heads bowed, or rather, where their heads should be. All 61 statues are now headless. Historians debate why. Were they decapitated by Later's Enophobes in a fit of rage? Did they fall off in an earthquake, their necks being the natural weak point in the stone? Or was it a symbolic act, a message that even in death all foreign powers would bow their heads to the Tang? It is a small, quiet mystery that adds to the strangeness of this place. But the greatest mystery of all stands near the entrance to the tomb itself. It is your stele, your memorial tablet. Next to it stands the stele for your husband, Emperor Gaozong. It is a magnificent work, covered in over 8,000 exquisitely carved characters, a long and glowing tribute composed by you, detailing his virtues, his accomplishments, his glorious reign. And then there is yours. It is even larger than his. A single perfect slab of stone, soaring over 20 feet into the air, crowned with intricately carved dragons. It is a masterpiece of stonework, prepared to bear the story of your incredible life. And it is completely, utterly. Not a single character is carved upon its surface. It is a silent monolith, an empty page. It has come to be known as the Wu Zetian, the wordless stele. Why? Why would a woman who invented her own character, who built an empire on propaganda and narrative, who understood the power of words better than anyone, choose silence for her final statement? This question has echoed through the halls of history for 13 centuries, and there are no easy answers. Some propose a theory of humility, that in your final moments, you relinquish the title of emperor and wish to be remembered only as Empress, the loyal consort of Gaozong. A blank stele, in this view, is an act of supreme deference to your husband. You are deliberately making yourself a footnote in his story, given everything we know about you. This theory feels unlikely. Humility was never your defining characteristic. Others suggest the exact opposite, an act of supreme arrogance. Your life, your accomplishments, were so monumental, so far beyond the scope of any ruler who had come before, that no words could possibly do you justice. To try and summarize your reign in a few thousand characters would be an insult. Your deeds were self-evident. The empire was your epitaph. The blank stone declares that you are beyond language itself. This sounds much more like you. But there is a third theory, one that speaks to your cunning, your peerless understanding of politics and legacy. Perhaps you knew that anything written on that stone would become a battleground. If you wrote your own glowing tribute, your enemies would have defaced it. If your son, the restored Tang Emperor, had written it, what could he possibly say? Could he praise the woman who deposed him? Could he praise the woman who deposed him? Could he condemn his own mother? The task was impossible, or an invitation to argument. So you left it blank. You created a vacuum, inviting every future generation to project their own version of you onto its silent surface. You gave the final word to no one, and in doing so, you gave it to everyone. You made your legacy an eternal conversation and ongoing debate. It was your final, brilliant act of controlling the narrative by refusing to write one. That silent stone does not end our story. It invites us to help fill it in. To understand the profound silence of that monument, we have to step back from the tomb for a moment and listen again to the echoes of your life, to the sound and the fury that preceded the quiet. We must remember the chaos you harnessed, the rebellions you crushed, and the chillingly effective systems you built to ensure that no one could ever stand against you. Let's drift back for a moment to the early days of your regency, when your power was new, and a group of princes decided to test the will of the woman who had just deposed her own son. We are back in the year 684. You have just deposed your son, Li Zion, and placed his younger brother, Li Dan, on the throne as your puppet. The court in Luoring is a mixture of your loyalists and terrified fence-sitters. But outside the capital, in the provinces, there is a deep unease. The old guard, the powerful Li clan of the Tang imperial family, is watching, and they are not happy. They see you not as a wise regent, but as a usurper. A woman from the Wu clan who has seized control of their family business, the empire. They see the deposition of Emperor Zongzong as a direct attack on their entire lineage. They decide they must act. The rebellion is led by Li Jingyi, the Duke of Ying. He is the grandson of one of the great founding generals of the Tang Dynasty. He is a man of impeccable lineage and considerable military reputation. He sets up his base of operations in Yangzhou, a prosperous city on the Grand Canal, a strategic and economic hub. He is not alone. He is joined by his brother and a number of other disaffected officials and members of the Li clan. They believe that the people are loyal to the Tang and that they will rise up in support of their rightful, if exiled, emperor. Their propaganda campaign is fierce. They enlist a famous but down-on-his-luck poet named Wu Wang to write a declaration of war against you. This document is a masterpiece of political invective. It is read aloud in marketplaces and posted in towns throughout the region. It accuses you of every crime imaginable. It calls you a calamitous vixen, a former servant who bewitched the late emperor. It repeats the story of you smothering your own daughter. It decries your wolf-like heart and your ambition to steal the celestial artifacts. A poetic way of saying you want to steal the throne. It is a brutal, personal, and devastatingly effective piece of writing. Legend has it that when the declaration was first read to you in court, your ministers were pale with fear, expecting an explosion of rage. But you, after listening intently, simply smiled. You turned to your chancellor and said, "This is the work of a brilliant writer. It is a failure of my government that a man of such talent has been overlooked and allowed to join the side of the rebels. It is a classic you moment. Even in the face of a declaration of war that personally if I issue, your first instinct is that of a ruthless HR manager. You are more annoyed about the loss of a talented propagandist than you are about the insults. But you do not underestimate the threat. A rebellion led by a high-ranking member of the imperial clan is a serious challenge to your new and fragile authority. You need to crush it, and crush it quickly. You appoint one of your most trusted generals, Li Xiaoyi, to lead a massive army of 300,000 soldiers against the rebels. You understand the importance of speed. You do not want to give the rebellion time to gather support to spread to other provinces. The rebels, for their part, make a series of strategic blunders. Li Jingyi, despite his reputation, proves to be a hesitant and indecisive commander. His advisors urge him to march west immediately to strike at the capital Luoring while you are still consolidating power. An attack on the capital would be a powerful symbolic blow and could inspire other Li family members to rise up, but Li Jingyi hesitates. He worries about his supply lines. He decides to focus on consolidating his control over the local region first, attacking nearby towns. It is a fatal error. He is playing for territory when he should be playing for the throne. Your massive army, by contrast, moves with incredible speed. They march south, and within 2 months they are engaging the rebel forces. The fighting is fierce, but the rebels are outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Your professional army, loyal and well-equipped, systematically grinds them down. Li Jingyi is defeated in a decisive battle near Yangsu. He tries to flee by boat, hoping to escape to Korea to regroup, but the winds are against him. He is trapped, and ultimately killed by one of his own men, who hopes to win a pardon by delivering the rebel leader's head to the imperial general. The rebellion has lasted less than 4 months. It has been utterly crushed. And now, you show the world the price of defying you. You are not merciful. You use the rebellion as an excuse to conduct a massive purge of the Li clan and anyone even suspected of sympathizing with them. Hundreds of officials and their families are executed. Thousands more are exiled. The old Tang establishment is not just defeated, it is gutted. This event is a crucial turning point. It is your first major test as a ruler, and you have passed it with ruthless efficiency. You have shown the world that you are not just a palace schemer. You are a formidable, decisive war leader. You have demonstrated that the loyalty of the army is to you, not to the old imperial family. And you have sent a chilling message to anyone else who might be thinking of challenging your authority. The rebellion has failed. But, in a strange way, it has made you stronger. It has given you the perfect justification to eliminate your rivals and solidify your grip on power. As you read the reports of the final executions, you might even feel a flicker of gratitude towards the foolish, brave, and now very dead Li Jingyi. He tried to destroy you, but instead, he handed you the keys to the empire. With the Li family rebellion crushed and the old aristocracy thoroughly cowed by your secret police, you are in firm control of the state's hardware. Now you must complete your conquest of its software, the hearts and minds of the people. It's not enough to be feared. To achieve your ultimate goal of becoming emperor, you must be seen as chosen. You need to create an undeniable narrative of celestial approval. And so begins one of the most masterful and bizarre propaganda campaigns in history. You turn the entire empire into a stage, and you are the director, producer, and star of a grand cosmic drama. Your primary tool, as we've touched upon, is Buddhism. But you don't just patronize it. You actively reshape it to serve your political ends. Your pet monk, Zhu Huiyi, isn't just a scholar. He holds grand Buddhist ceremonies in the capital, massive public spectacles filled with music, chanting, and elaborate rituals. He commissions the construction of colossal statues of the Buddha, and it's no coincidence that the faces of these statues bear a striking, serene resemblance to your own. The message is not subtle. The Empress Regent and the Divine are one and the same. The discovery of the Great Cloud Sutra commentary, prophesying a female ruler, is the cornerstone of this campaign. You order it to be distributed to every monastery, but you don't stop there. You establish a new government agency, the Great Cloud Temple Office, whose sole purpose is to manage the dissemination of this new theology. You are bureaucratizing your own divinity, but you know that a top-down religious campaign is not enough. You need grassroots proof. You need the people themselves to discover the signs of your destiny. This is where the white stone comes in. The story of the farmer finding the stone inscribed with the prophecy about a holy mother is a perfect example of your methods. Let's imagine how this might have actually happened. You or one of your clever ministers likely came up with the inscription. A skilled calligrapher would have written it out. Then, a stonemason would have been tasked with carefully carving it onto a suitably auspicious-looking white rock. The rock would then be transported, probably at night, to a field in a distant province and buried. A local official, loyal to you, would then encourage a simple, trustworthy-looking farmer to plow that specific part of his field. The farmer's discovery would seem completely genuine. You would be amazed, perhaps a little frightened. You would report it to the local magistrate, who would feign astonishment and immediately send a report to the capital. The whole event is a carefully staged piece of political theater designed to look like a spontaneous miracle. And this happens again and again. A strange melon with auspicious characters seemingly grown into its rind is presented at court. A local official reports that the river in his province has miraculously cleared, a traditional sign of a sage ruler. You even change the official calendar, renaming the years with auspicious titles like Heaven Granted and Divine Epic to reinforce the idea that the people are living in a special magical time. You also master the art of the petition. You want to make it seem as though your every move towards absolute power is a response to the overwhelming demand of the people. Before you declare your new dynasty, you orchestrate a massive popular movement. Your agents and allies circulate petitions across the empire. The wording is careful, praising your wisdom and begging you to accept the mandate of heaven. Signing such a petition is not really a choice. When an official from the capital comes to your village and asks you to add your name to a document supporting the most powerful and ruthless person in the country, you sign. Tens of thousands of names are collected this way, from every social class. This is then presented to you at court as the spontaneous will of the people. It is a manufactured consensus. One of the strangest pieces of this puzzle is your invention of new written characters. It wasn't just the one for your own name. During your reign, you introduced around a dozen new complex characters. It's a very peculiar historical footnote. Why would a ruler deliberately make the written language more complicated? Scholars still debate this. Some think it was pure ego, a way of showing that your intellect was so vast you could literally reshape the language. Others suggest a more practical reason. By introducing new mandatory characters, you were forcing the entire bureaucracy, all the scholars and scribes, to learn your new system. It was a subtle but powerful loyalty test. To use your characters was to accept your authority. To refuse, or to continue using the old forms, was an act of quiet rebellion. It was another way of sorting the loyal from the disloyal. Through this relentless, multi-layered campaign of religious propaganda, manufactured omens, and psychological pressure, you are performing a kind of mass hypnosis on the empire. You are not just seizing power. You are creating a new reality, a world in which a woman becoming emperor is not an aberration, but a divinely ordained, historically inevitable event. You are making the impossible seem plausible, and the plausible seem necessary. The dragon throne is waiting, and you have convinced the world, and perhaps even yourself, that heaven has sent you to claim it. You are the holy and divine emperor. The Zhou dynasty is yours. The world has been remade in your image, and yet there's a small, persistent problem. Your name, Wu Zhao. It's the name of the girl who entered the palace at 14. It's the name of the concubine who languished as a Karen. It's a name from your past, a name tied to your former, lesser self. It is not grand enough for the living god you have become, so you decide to change it. But you don't just pick a new name, you invent one. This brings us back to one of the most intellectually audacious and egotistical acts of any ruler in history, the creation of your own personal character. Let's linger on this for a moment because it reveals so much about how you see yourself and your place in the cosmos. The Chinese written language is not an alphabet. Each character is a symbol, an idea, a piece of history. To create a new one is not like coining a new word. It's like trying to add a new color to the rainbow or a new note to the musical scale. It is an act of profound hubris. You summon your most learned scholars, the men of the North Gate, your personal think tank. You give them a task to create a single unique symbol that captures your essence. You are not just a person anymore, you are a concept, and you need a logo. The process is one of intense philosophical and aesthetic debate. They present you with options. You reject them. They must be more creative, more profound. Finally, they arrive at the design you approve. The character is pronounced Zhao, the same sound as the Zhao in your original name, providing a link to your past, but its form is entirely new. Let's break it down. At the top, you have the character for Sun Ru. Below it, the character for Moon Yue. And framing them both, enveloping them, is the character for Sky or Emptiness Com. It is a pictographic poem. The sun and the moon, the two great celestial bodies, the symbols of yin and yang, male and female, light and dark, are shining together simultaneously from the same sky. The symbolism is staggering. You are declaring that you are not just a female ruler, the moon. You are not a woman trying to be a man, the sun. You are both. You have transcended gender. You have unified the fundamental dualities of the universe into a single being yourself. You are a cosmic singularity. The character is visually complex, elegant, and radiates a sense of balance and power. It is also not coincidentally incredibly difficult to write correctly. It requires a steady hand and a focused mind. You issue an imperial edict. This new character, which we will continue to call Zhao for simplicity, is now an official part of the language. It has one use and one use only to write your personal name. No one else may ever use it. Every document, every edict, every stone inscription that bears your name must now use this new unique and sacred symbol. Think of the effect this has on the bureaucracy. Every scribe in the empire, every clerk in every provincial office must now learn how to write this strange new character. Every time they dip their brush in ink to write your name, they are forced to pause. They are forced to concentrate. They are performing a small, daily act of obeisance. The character itself is a loyalty test. It is a constant, subliminal reminder of your unique and unassailable status. The creation of this character is the final stone in the arch of your self-deification. You have declared yourself a living Buddha. You have manufactured omens. You have crushed your enemies. And now you have literally inscribed your divinity into the very fabric of the written word. You have trademarked yourself. Historians still marvel at this. It's a move of such breathtaking intellectual arrogance. While other rulers might build great walls or giant statues to immortalize themselves, you chose to build your monument out of ink and ideas. You colonized a piece of the language itself. For the rest of your reign, that character is you. It appears on coins, on edicts, on temple bells. It is a symbol of your power, a constant presence throughout the empire. And then, after your death, when the Tang Dynasty is restored, one of the first things they do is abolish it. They scrub it from the official record. They try to make it disappear, as if it were a bad dream. But they can't. The character is too strange, too memorable. It survives in old documents on weathered stones. It remains a ghostly testament to the woman who believed she was so singular, so monumental, that the existing 50,000 characters of the Chinese language were simply not enough to contain her. It is the ultimate personal brand, a symbol of a mind that saw no limits to its own ambition, not even the boundaries of language itself. The year is 690th. The petitions have been accepted. The puppet emperor has abdicated. The propaganda has done its work. The moment has arrived. You walk to the Danfeng Gate, the Gate of the Red Phoenix, the main southern entrance to the Daming Palace in your capital, Luoring. It is a colossal structure, a magnificent stage for the drama that is about to unfold. Below you in the vast square, the highest officials of the empire are assembled. They are a sea of colored silks and solemn faces, the entire machinery of your government waiting. You are 67 years old. You are no longer the teenage girl who entered this world of power, nor the desperate nun, nor the cunning consort. You are a stateswoman, a warrior queen, a theologian, a tyrant, and a genius. And you are about to do something no woman in the history of your nation has ever done. You ascend the rostrum. You are wearing the dragon robe, imperial yellow, the color reserved for the one who mediates between heaven and earth. As you move, the embroidered dragons seem to writhe on the silk, the sun catches the gold threads. To the crowd below you must look like a figure of pure light, a living idol. A hush falls over the massive assembly. A herald, his voice amplified by the perfect acoustics of the square, begins to read the proclamation. It is long and formal, filled with auspicious rhetoric, but its message is simple and world-shattering. The mandate of heaven has passed from the House of Li. The Tang Dynasty is declared at an end. A new dynasty, the Zhu, is proclaimed. And then comes the final, crucial part. You, Wu Zhao, the Empress Regent, are to ascend the throne not as a temporary caretaker, but as the founding emperor of this new dynasty. You are given your new imperial name Shangshan Huandi. Holy and divine emperor, you have done it. You have shattered the celestial glass ceiling. The ministers below perform the kowtow. They press their foreheads to the stone paving, a gesture of absolute submission. They are no your colleagues or your subjects in your son's name. They are your subjects, directly. You are the sole font of all authority. Imagine the feeling. The culmination of a lifetime of struggle. From the fifth rank of concubines to the one and only throne. You have outmaneuvered, outsmarted, and outlived every single person who ever stood in your way. The old emperor who thought you were a charming but dangerous pet. The empress who thought you were a harmless pawn. The consort who saw you as a rival. Your own sons who thought the throne was their birthright. The princes who rebelled against you. They are all gone, and you are still here standing in the sun robed in dragons. The days that follow are a whirlwind of symbolic activity. You declare a general amnesty, a traditional act of benevolence for a new ruler. You posthumously grant your own ancestors, the Wu clan of merchants and minor officials, the lofty titles of emperors and empresses. You are retroactively ennobling your own bloodline. You move the spiritual heart of the empire. You declare Luoring, your power base, the divine capital, officially supplanting the old Tang capital of Changhuan. You order the construction of even grander buildings, vast halls and pagodas that will solidify Luoring's status and serve as monuments to your new dynasty. This is the peak, the absolute summit of your power and ambition. But being emperor is not just about ceremony. It's about ruling. And now the entire weight of the empire rests squarely on your shoulders. There is no husband to hide behind, no son to rule through. Every success is yours, but every failure is also yours, and yours alone. One of your first challenges is the one that plagues every usurper legitimacy. You have the throne, but you need to keep it. The military is key. You need to ensure the loyalty of the generals and the armies on the frontiers. You do this with a combination of lavish rewards for your loyal commanders and a continuation of your ruthless purges against anyone with lingering Tang sympathies. The civil government, the bureaucracy, is easier. You have been packing it with your own hand-picked men for years. These are the scholars who owe their careers to you, the men promoted through the examination system you championed. Their loyalty is not to the old aristocracy, but to you, their patron. But the question remains, what does it feel like for the average person? The farmer in the field, the woman selling silk in the market. Does their life change? Probably not much, on a daily basis. The taxes are the same, the laws are largely the same, but the propaganda is everywhere. The new coins bear the name of your Zhu dynasty. The monks in the local temple are preaching about a living Buddha, a female savior. The official calendar has changed, steady pressure to accept the new reality. You have won the ultimate prize. You are emperor, but as you sit on the dragon throne, in the quiet of the throne room after the courtiers have gone, a new and terrifying thought might enter your mind. What now? A dynasty is not one person. A dynasty is a lineage. And as you look to the future, you see the single greatest and most ironic challenge of your reign taking shape who will succeed you. The founder of the Wu Dynasty has no Wu heir. The future of your great enterprise is a blank, and it is a blank that will come to haunt the rest of your days. You sit on the dragon throne. The initial euphoria of the ascension gives way to the mundane, grinding reality of governance. And you begin to notice the small things, the subtle ways the world reacts to the fact that you are a woman. When you hold court, the ministers approach the throne, their heads bowed. They perform the rituals of deference perfectly. But you see it in their eyes sometimes, a flicker of disbelief, a moment of cognitive dissonance. They are speaking to the ultimate authority, the Son of Heaven, but they are looking at a woman in her late 60s. All the books they have ever read, all the history they have ever learned, tells them that this is impossible. Yet, here you are. Your voice itself is a tool of power. It is not the deep, booming voice of a warrior emperor like Aizong. It is a woman's voice. You learn to modulate it, to keep it calm and measured, to cut through the arguments of men with a quiet, sharp precision that is more effective than shouting. You also have to deal with the physical realities of being a female head of state in a man's world. The endless ceremonies, the rituals that were designed for a male body, have to be adapted. When you perform the sacred rites at the altar of heaven, a duty reserved for the emperor alone, you are keenly aware that you are the first woman to ever do so. You are setting a precedent with every step you take. The very concept of the imperial household is turned on its head. An emperor has an empress and a harem of concubines. This is a political and a biological necessity to ensure the production of heirs. What is the female equivalent? Do you appoint an emperor consort? Do you create a harem of men? This is a problem you never formally solve. You have your favorites, like the Zhang brothers, whom you shower with titles and affection. They function in some ways like a male version of a favored consort, but you never establish a formal system. To do so would be too radical, too shocking even for you. It would also raise the dangerous question of paternity if you were to somehow have another child. So your harem remains an informal, unofficial affair, a source of endless gossip and scandal, but never a formal institution of the state. This leads to one of the more persistent and, frankly, sexist criticisms leveled against you by later historians. They obsess over your relationships with your male favorites. Male emperors could have thousands of concubines, and it was seen as a sign of their virility and power. But you, having a handful of male companions in your old age, are painted as a licentious, decadent old woman, controlled by her passions. The double standard is glaring. You also face a unique challenge in how you project your authority. Male emperors often relied on a projection of martial prowess. They would lead armies, review troops, and cultivate a warrior image. You are a woman in her 70s. You cannot ride into battle at the head of your cavalry, so you cultivate a different kind of image. You lean into your role as a scholar and a sage. You commission vast literary projects, encyclopedias, and histories. You surround yourself with the most brilliant minds in the empire. You project an image of intellectual power, of a ruler who wins not with brute force, but with superior strategy and wisdom. You also continue to use Buddhism as a pillar of your reign. You are the Maitreya Buddha in human form. This gives you a source of authority that is entirely separate from the masculine, Confucian tradition. Your power does not come from your gender. It comes from your divinity. It is a brilliant way to sidestep the entire problem. But the contradictions are always there. You are the emperor, but you are also a mother. Your two surviving sons, Li Xian and Li Dan, are a constant, walking reminder of the Tang Dynasty you overthrew. They live in the palace, given princely titles. But they are essentially your prisoners. Their existence is a political problem you can never fully solve. One of the most telling anecdotes from your reign, though its historical accuracy is debated, concerns your public appearances. It is said that when you traveled, you would often have a screen placed in front of you, shielding you from the direct gaze of the common people. It was a calculated move. It cultivated an aura of mystery. It allowed people to project their own ideas of a divine ruler onto the unseen figure behind the screen, rather than just a person. It was a way of managing the cognitive dissonance of a female son of heaven. They were bowing to the throne, to the imperial yellow, to the idea of the emperor without having to be directly confronted by the fact that the occupant of that throne was a woman. You are walking a tightrope every single day. You are balancing the need to appear strong and decisive with the cultural expectation that women should be modest and yielding. You are balancing your role as the founder of a new dynasty with your role as the mother of the princes of the old one. You are a living paradox, a walking contradiction. And it is your genius, your sheer political skill, that allows you to maintain this impossible balance for 15 years. Your reign as emperor is a complex tapestry, woven with threads of brilliant innovation, deep piety, and chilling paranoia. To understand it, you have to look at the three pillars that hold up your throne: the Buddhists who justify your rule, the scholars who run your empire, and the spies who protect you from your enemies. First, the Buddhas. Your patronage of Buddhism is unlike anything China has ever seen. It is not just about personal faith. It is a fundamental to love statecraft. You pour staggering sums of money into the religion. You commission the carving of the colossal Buddha statues at the Longmen grottos, near your capital, Luoring. The largest of these, the Vairocana Buddha, is said to be modeled on your own face. It is in serene majesty, over 50 feet tall, a permanent stone declaration of your divine status. When people look upon this Buddha, they are looking upon you. But your support is not just financial. You actively participate in theological life. You invite famous monks from India and Central Asia to your court. You personally oversee and fund massive translation projects, bringing new sutras and commentaries into the Chinese language. You engage in debates with senior monks, showing off your own deep knowledge of Buddhist doctrine. You are not just a patron. You are a participant, a Dharma protector king on an epic scale. This has a profound effect on the country. Buddhism flourishes, reaching a peak of influence and wealth. Monasteries become huge landowners, exempt from taxes. This creates economic problems down the line, but for now, it ensures that the most powerful religious institution in the land is firmly on your side. The sound of chanting in your honor echoes from thousands of temples across the empire. Second, the scholars. While Buddhism provides your spiritual legitimacy, it is the vast, complex machinery of the Confucian bureaucracy that actually runs the country. And you are a master at managing it. You expand and refine the civil service examination system. This is one of the most important and lasting legacies of your reign. Before you, government positions were often filled based on aristocratic birth. The great clans passed down power from father to son. You smash this system. You make the examinations the primary route to a career in the government. Any man, at least in theory, regardless of his family background, could rise to a high position if he was smart enough to pass the grueling tests based on the Confucian classics. This has several effects. It creates a more meritocratic and efficient government, run by talented administrators rather than entitled blue bloods. It also creates a new class of scholar officials whose loyalty is to the state, and specifically to you, the emperor who gave them this opportunity. They are your men, and they form a powerful counterweight to the old, resentful aristocracy. You are known to be a demanding boss. You read memorials and reports personally. You have an incredible memory for detail. A minister who tries to bluff his way through a report will find himself cut down by a sharp, precise question from you. You value competence above all else. This makes your government effective, but it does not necessarily make you loved. The scholars serve you. They respect your intelligence, but many of them, deep down, are still committed to a Confucian worldview that says you should not be on the throne at all. They are useful, but you know you can never fully trust their hearts. And that is why you need the third pillar, the spies. Your reign of terror, which began when you were regent, does not end when you become emperor. It becomes more refined, more institutionalized. The secret police, the cruel officials, remain a powerful and feared part of your government. The copper boxes for accusations are still in use. An anonymous denunciation is still enough to ruin a man's life. You use this system to keep the bureaucracy on its toes, to purge anyone you suspect of disloyalty, and to eliminate the last remnants of the Li clan's supporters. One of the most infamous figures of this era is Li Junchen, your chief torturer and interrogator. He is a master of psychological manipulation, a man who seems to take genuine pleasure in his work. He perfects the art of forcing confessions and creating vast, sprawling conspiracy cases that can implicate hundreds of people at once. The fear of being invited for a talk by Lai Junchen is enough to keep the entire court in a state of low-grade, constant anxiety. Does this contradict your image as a wise Buddhist-inspired sage ruler? Absolutely. And this is the central paradox of your reign. You are simultaneously a great patron of a religion of compassion and the overseer of a brutal police state. You are promoting scholars while also terrorizing them. How do you reconcile this? Perhaps you saw no contradiction at all. The spies and torturers were a necessary tool to protect the peace and stability that allowed your glorious, Buddha-sanctioned reign to flourish. To you, they were like a surgeon's knife, cruel, but necessary to cut out the disease of rebellion and conspiracy. The terror was the price of peace. For 15 years, you hold these three disparate pillars together through the sheer force of your personality. The monks chant your praises, the scholars run your government, and the spies keep everyone else in line. It is a strange, effective, and deeply unstable system, held in a delicate balance. And it can only last as long as you are strong enough to hold it. The years are catching up to you. You are an old woman, well into your 70s, and the immense burden of the empire is heavy. The grand halls of the palace feel colder, larger. The endless audiences and rituals are exhausting. You begin to retreat more and more into the privacy of your personal chambers, leaving the day-to-day running of the government to the chancellors you have trained so well. And in this twilight of your life you seek comfort. Not in policy debates or religious ceremony, but in companionship. This is where the Zhang brothers enter the story. They are Zhang Yizhi Chai and Zhang Changzong. They are young, exquisitely handsome, and masters of the gentle arts. They play music, they compose light poetry, they excel at conversation. Most importantly, they know how to flatter and soothe an aging, powerful woman who is, perhaps for the first time in her life, deeply lonely. They are introduced to you, some say by your own daughter, the Princess Staping. They quickly become indispensable. They are not like the rough, ambitious men you have dealt with your whole life, the soldiers, the ministers, the spies. They are soft, elegant, and utterly devoted to your comfort and entertainment. You shower them with gifts. You give them titles. You grant them access to the highest levels of power. Zheng Chengzong is nicknamed Sixth Master because he is said to be as beautiful as a famous literary hero. They are given official posts, but their real job is to be your companions. They are your last favorites. Their presence at court is a source of immense scandal. The stern Confucian ministers are appalled. They see these preening young men as a sign of the emperor's moral decay, a decadent indulgence that cheapens the throne. The fact that you are an old woman and they are young men fuels the mostest rumors. The official histories, written by these same Confucianists, will paint a picture of a senile old empress completely manipulated by her pretty boy lovers. The truth is probably more nuanced. Are you infatuated with them? Yes, most likely. They offer you a kind of gentle, uncomplicated affection that you have rarely known. But are you controlled by them? It's doubtful. Your political mind, even in old age, is still sharp. You are not a fool. You likely saw them as a pleasant diversion, a comfort in your final years. You use them for companionship, and they use you for power and wealth. The problem is that the brothers are not content to be just companions. They are ambitious. They begin to interfere in politics. They use their privileged access to you to build their own faction, to slander ministers they dislike, and to enrich themselves and their family. They become a corrupting influence at the heart of the court. Ministers who need to get an urgent report to you find that they must first get the approval of the Zhang. The brothers start to act as if they are the regents, making decisions in your name. They even manage to have one of your own grandchildren and a grandson-in-law executed for daring to privately criticize them. This is a step too far. It alienates even your most loyal officials. They see the Zhang brothers not just as an embarrassment, but as a genuine threat to the stability of the state. They fear what will happen when you, The only person who can control them are gone. Your son, Li Xian, the crown prince, is in a particularly humiliating position. He is the heir to the throne, a mature man in his late 40s, yet he is forced to play nice with these two young upstarts. He has to endure their arrogance, to watch them wield the power that should one day be his. The tension in the palace is thick enough to cut with a knife. One of the few people who dares to stand up to the Zhang is your old, trusted Chancellor Durenji. In one famous encounter, you mentioned to him that you dreamed of a parrot with two broken wings. Durenji, a master of interpreting such things for political ends, tells you, the parrot is your majesty. The two wings are your two sons. If you rely on them both, your wings will be restored. It's a subtle but clear plea to sideline your Wu family nephews and the Zhang brothers, and to place your trust back in the legitimate Tang heirs. You are caught in a web of your own making. Your sharp political instincts are at war with your personal loneliness and affection for the two young men who brighten your days. You know the brothers are a problem, but you lack the will or perhaps the energy to deal with them decisively. Your body is failing, and your grip is slipping. The Zhang brothers are like a fever in the final days of your reign. They are a symptom of your decline. Their meteoric rise and corrupting influence create the final crisis that will bring your incredible, world-changing rule to an end. They are the catalyst for the final, gentle coup that is brewing just outside your chamber door. The winter of 705 is harsh. The cold seeps into the very bones of the palace in Nuwaring. But the chill you feel is more than just the weather. You are 81 years old, and you know you are dying. You are confined to your bed in the hall of long life, too weak to hold court, too tired to fight. The empire you have held in your iron grip for so long is beginning to feel distant, like a memory. The government is paralyzed. The ministers know you are fading, and they are terrified of what comes next. They see the Zhang brothers, your handsome and arrogant favorites, tightening their control, isolating you from everyone. They fear a succession crisis, a forged will, a bloody struggle for power the moment your last breath is gone. They believe, with good reason, that the brothers plan to usurp the throne. The time for quiet protest is over. It is time for action. A small group of your most senior officials makes a secret pact. The leader is Zhang Jianzi, your chief minister. He is an old man, a career civil servant you yourself promoted. He is not acting out of hatred for you. He is acting out of loyalty to the stability of the empire you created. He is a man trying to save the kingdom from its queen. He gathers his allies, other ministers, a few key generals from the palace guard. They also bring your son, the crown prince Li Xian, into the plot. He is hesitant, terrified of moving against you, his mother, but they convince him it is his duty. It is the only way to prevent chaos. On the 20th of February, under the cover of a snowy, pre-dawn darkness, they make their move. It is not a huge army storming the palace. It is a small, quiet, brutally efficient operation. A few hundred crack troops from the palace guard march silently through the sleeping courtyards to your private residence. They first go to the chambers of the Zhang brothers. The two young men who have been swaggering through the palace as if they were untouchable are caught completely by surprise. There is no trial, no argument. The soldiers cut them down on the spot. Their brief, glittering careers are over. With the Zhang eliminated, the conspirators, their swords still stained, proceed to your bedchamber. The guards at your door, loyal to the plotters, step aside. They enter the room. You are asleep. The noise wakes you. You struggle to sit up, a frail old woman in a vast bed, surrounded by grim-faced men in armor. For a moment, the old fire flashes in your eyes. Is it the Zhang brothers who are rebelling? You demand, your voice a weak rasp. It is not a rebellion, Chancellor Zhang Jianzi says, his voice respectful but firm. He steps forward and tells you that the Zhang brothers have been executed for treason. And then he makes the request. For the good of the empire, for a peaceful transition, they ask you to abdicate in favor of the crown prince. This is it, the end of the game. You look at the faces around your bed. These are not your enemies. These are the men who have run your government for years. This is not a hostile takeover. This is a forced retirement. You are tired. So incredibly tired. The fight is gone. The long, brilliant, brutal struggle of your life is over. You could have screamed for your own guards, but you know it is pointless. The palace is already theirs, and perhaps in a strange way you are relieved. The unbearable weight of the empire is finally being lifted from your shoulders. You acquiesce. The next few days are a blur of ceremony. A formal abdication document is drafted. Your son, Li Xiong, is once again enthroned as Emperor Zhongzong. He immediately proclaims that the Tang Dynasty is restored. Your Zhu Dynasty, your life's greatest project, is dissolved with the stroke of a pen. It has lasted 15 years. You are moved out of the main palace. You are given the honorific title Grand Empress Zetian. You are treated with all the outward signs of respect due to an Empress Dowager, the mother of the reigning emperor. But you are a prisoner, a comfortable, revered, and utterly powerless prisoner. You live for a few more months. From the windows of your new palace, you can hear the sounds of the capital, a city that was once yours now moving on without you. You hear that your invented characters have been abolished. You hear that the names of the government offices are being changed back to the old Tang names. Your revolution is being systematically, peacefully erased. You do not seem to be bitter. The historical accounts suggest you were calm, even serene, in your final days. Perhaps you knew that they could change the names, but they could never erase what you had done. You had proven that a woman could rule. You had broken the world and remade it. No one could ever take that away. As autumn turns to winter again, you draft your final will. You make your last, most brilliant political move. You request that you be stripped of the title of emperor, and buried not as a sovereign, but as the empress consort of your husband Li Ji. It is an act that secures your place in the Tang ancestral line, a final retreat into conformity that guarantees your eternal memory. In December of 705 you die. You are 81 years old. The girl who entered the palace as a nobody has become an empress, a god, an emperor, and now a legend. Your story is over. But the debate, the argument over who you were, a feminist icon or a blood-soaked tyrant, a brilliant sage or a decadent monster, has just begun. And it will continue for as long as there are people to tell your tale. And so the story ends. The great tumultuous life of Empress Wu comes to a quiet close. The sound of rebellion fades. The whispers of the court grow silent. The grand halls of Luoring stand empty for a moment, catching the last rays of a setting sun. All the ambition, the love, the fear, the blood, it all settles like dust on a forgotten scroll. The great wave of her life has crashed upon the shore, and now there is only the soft, gentle sound of the tide pulling back into the vast ocean of history. Perhaps you can feel that quiet now. A deep, peaceful stillness. The story has been told, and there is nothing left to do. Nothing to hold on to. You can let the details drift away, like cherry blossoms falling in a palace garden. The names, the dates, the intricate plots, they can all soften and blur, becoming just impressions, just the gentle echo of a story that was. Your mind can be as clear and calm as the surface of a still lake at midnight, reflecting only the distant, silent stars. Feel the weight of your own body, the gentle, comforting pressure. The world of the Tang Dynasty recedes, and you are left here, in this safe, warm space. There are no more emperors or empresses, no more spies or scholars. There is only the soft rhythm of your own breath, rising and falling, a quiet tide all your own. You are home. You are home. The candle of our story has now flickered out. If you still see a light in your mind's eye, perhaps another of my videos can help it dim. I wish you the deepest rest. Good night.